Sorry, I'm distracted. I broke the TV in here. The Masters is on, and quite frankly, I really don't care what's going on outside of that. Right? I mean, it's awesome. I love the Masters. This is one of those things where I told my wife today, I said, honey, look, you know I love you. There's a good chance you may not see me till Sunday evening. Just want to let you know that. She's like, is it the Masters week? I said, it's the Masters week. My son, God bless him. It's for you, Jack. You're the man. Sends me a picture. Working hard at school. Host mom doesn't see this. He goes, Dad, I'm watching the Masters on your Hulu. I'm like, yes. He's learning, kids. He's learning. What's going on, Ken? Is there anything crazy happening that I have to worry about? Like, did we hit China with 14,000 tariffs in the last 5 minutes?
No, everything's cool on that. But I just got a sad update.
What? To
this missing, this endangered child alert for this 5-year-old boy out of Memphis today. Apparently, they found him dead.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
So, what time did he go missing?
He's been missing since early this morning. Had an endangered child alert out for him. Little 5-year-old boy. He had last been seen wearing a Spider-Man T-shirt. Didn't have any shoes. Apparently, he's been known to kind of wander off before, but he's always come back. This time he did not, and now Channel 4 is reporting they found him dead.
I wonder, was it like one of those things where was it a family member? Was it like an Amber Alert that he'd been kidnapped?
Yeah, it's similar to an Amber Alert, but this is just like an endangered child alert where maybe, a child wanders off and, you start looking for them. And either that or maybe non-custodial parents, have taken the child, which is similar to an Amber Alert. This was just an endangered child alert.
So there's more likely he might have wandered off on his own.
Yes. Yeah.
Man, that's awful.
Yeah, I mean, it just came down, and it just had all my attention there.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's you couldn't even imagine. I have a 6-year-old home, and I couldn't even imagine something like that. I mean, the what goes through your mind as a parent losing a child. No parent should ever have to bury their children.
Yeah, they found him in a pond.
Sounds like maybe he wandered off on his own.
Sounds like he may, he has been diagnosed with autism.
I was going to ask you, is he autistic? When I coached my little brother's soccer team, we had a kid, his name was Andrew. He was nonverbal autistic. He would score a goal, and he would just keep going.
Yeah.
So, because everybody got to score a goal, right? And he would kick the ball, and he'd go, and he'd just take off.
Yeah.
And he'd just start running. And his mom, right, she was this lady, she would chase the hell out of him, and he would take off, and she would tell me all the time that he had gotten to the point now where he was so big that he would just take off sometimes, and there's nothing you could do. Like their house was wired up not for somebody breaking in, but for him getting out.
Right.
And something like this where, but where would you think, where are the parents?
Yeah, I mean, that's all going to have to be, checked out, so...
What a horrible...
But, I mean, this is, speaking of autism, I mean, that there is a case, before you got here, there's a case for Sebastian Rogers out of Sumner County, 15-year-old with autism. He, according to his parents, just walked out of his home one night. They went to check on him after he had gone to bed. Like 11 o'clock at night, they go to check on him, and he's not there. And nobody has seen him since. We're going on 2 years.
Wow.
And there's just no sign of him whatsoever.
That is so...
And they, authorities say they've checked all the local, ponds and lakes, that sort of thing. And there's just no sign of him.
And how old was he?
He's 15. He was 15. He's got to be at least 16 because this has been at least a year.
Man, it's, and you wonder what, where did he get it? Did he meet somebody? We had a situation when I was in Arizona. It became huge news. Girl she'd been gone for like 3 years.
Yeah.
And nobody had seen her. And then one day she walked into a police station in Montana, I think.
Wow.
And she was 18. And she says, she goes, I'm trying to get a job. I want you to take me off the national missing children's list.
Wow.
Because it would pop up. And then she didn't want to see her parents. she didn't. It was such a bizarre thing. She was living with a guy, and it was the whole thing was weird. But she just disappeared one day, and they thought she was with somebody. But the guy that I think that she was with now wasn't the guy maybe she went with, but it was the only way they found out is because she went in to get a job and she applied for a job and something hit.
Incredible.
And then she had to go to the police station and say, hey, could you take me off the missing children's list? And then when you think, okay, your parents would be relieved, and she's like, yeah, I don't want to talk to my family. They flew out to see her, and they're like, nah.
Incredible,
Such
man.
a weird, it's a whole thing. I think but, and then you've got everybody in the world looking for you.
Yeah.
But that's a shame about that little boy.
It is, man. He looked like a cute little fella.
And I do wonder about, for all the chaos and some of the wacky stuff that RFK has thrown out there in the past, and the fact that he had his bear and that he found on the road and left it in the middle of, okay, weird. We can all admit that. Let's be honest. We're not saying anything's not. I do wonder about how is it that we have so many kids who have, and I'm not talking about kids like, you've got ADHD. Like ADHD is, I've got ADHD. Like bad. You guys have no idea. I take a pill right before I come on because I will bounce off the walls like Tigger. You have no idea. But the kids who have serious autism, and what is it? Why is there so many? When I coached my little brother's special needs team, and for the guys who don't know, my little brother's actually my nephew. My mother's adopted him. He's 21. He's trach, G-tube, brain damage, eats out of his G-tube, his trach, he's all the things. Never talked, never walked, never said anything. He's in a wheelchair. But when I would go coach his teams, I talked to some of the parents whose kids were a little bit older. They said, we were lucky to field a few players like 15 years ago. Now there is so many kids who have autism. And a lot of these kids were seriously autistic. And I'm thinking, what has changed?
Yeah.
Is it,
my mother swears that something changed in the 70s because she said, she's told me before, son, I gave you and your brother and sister, we were allowed to drink Cokes.
Oh, God, yeah.
Caffeine, everything, sugar. But she said you guys never reacted like kids do today.
No.
The things that we gave you when you were kids in the 70s.
That is interesting. It is because I still eat like a child, but we ate crap.
Oh, gosh.
We ran behind the pest truck, it was out there spraying it because why? It was cool.
I rode my bike behind it.
Absolutely. I drank out of the gutter because somebody dared me. Hell, I ate an ant. Several of them. See if you dare me again. Double dog this. Right?
I've eaten June bugs.
Of course you have.
They're crunchy.
They are. By the way, I've eaten a cockroach. They're gross. They're gross. Why'd you eat a cockroach? Well, how else am I going to get to the front of the line? Right? So I don't have to wait in line. Do you know that cockroaches are like shellfish? If you got an allergy, you'll get sick.
Whoa.
Yeah. So for those of you who are going to like we have Knott's Berry, a scary farm, which is this for those of you going to that, and they say, hey, if anybody wants to eat a cockroach, you'll go to the front of the line, so you'd have to wait 2 hours. If you've got shellfish reaction, you could be in trouble.
Write that down, folks.
But it is weird, though, that we did all these things. Mm-hmm. We were basically not watched. Why? And I know some people say it was all about the vaccines. It can't be all about the vaccines. Because, but is it the stuff in our food? Is it, what? One of the things I've noticed when I was coaching my little brother's soccer, and it sounds horrible, but it's true. Not a lot of young moms out there or dads.
Yeah.
Not a lot. Most of them were, they're 50, 55. Their kids like 13 or 10.
Well, and that's what's happening according to, the story we were doing just a couple of weeks ago. That for the first time ever, first-time parents
older women,
in their 40s have outpassed younger women as first-time mothers.
And I'm not trying to say that your eggs are bad.
Right, right.
Is there something to that?
But yeah. I mean, it's just kind of like an observation that. But you're right, man. I mean, I'm vaccinated to I have every vaccination. As a kid, I was given. Yeah, my mom's pretty sure I had the shingles in back. I did have chicken pox, I believe.
And that's how you get it, right? You have to. It's adult chicken
pox.
Right, right. So if you get chicken pox, then you'll get
shingles later
potentially, on. Yeah, okay.
But yeah, I've just never had an issue that I know of.
No, I haven't either. I've been vaccinated. I tell everybody, do whatever it is you want to do.
Yeah.
I mean, it's silly. Like everybody's making a big deal out of what's going on in Tennessee. Not Tennessee, but Texas with the measles.
Yeah.
First of all, there was like 12,000 measles cases a few years ago. Measles, for the most part, is not going to kill. Can it? Absolutely. So can the flu. Yep. So we understand that. The other side of it is, it's because these people were religious zealots. No, it's because they were Mennonites is where it started. And guess what Mennonites don't do? They are fine with vaccines. They never go to the doctor. They just don't. So it wasn't because they're anti-vaxxers. They just don't go to the doctor. And then it spreads. But it is a weird thing when you think about how many kids out there are like my 16-year-old stepdaughter. She's like way on the spectrum. And everybody tells me that when she got her last set of shots, from one day to the next, she was a different human being. And I'm like, maybe, I don't know. I mean, I didn't know her then, but again, like all my little brothers and sisters, they all have shots. They're totally fine. Well, as fine as you're going to get. Their mother was a bigger problem than anything.
Yeah.
Because all the drugs.
That can happen, yeah.
But it's, they're on the spectrum, a couple of them, but it is a weird, because we have seen this explosion in kids with autism. And I keep thinking it's something in the food, maybe the older, I do think the older parents are there's something there that probably needs to be looked at. Of course, you can't do that because you say, well, if it's the dad, nobody would care. They say, it's all because men suck. But you would never say it if it's the woman. Mm-hmm. Because they're like, oh, you can't say that. No, we need to find out why there are so many kids on the spectrum.
Absolutely.
And we've also expanded the spectrum somewhat too, right? That like we have like the spectrum. I mean, because when I think autism, like my little brother, he's on different spectrum, but my other little brother, Dakota, he's got microcephaly. That's where his head doesn't really grow, so his head's a little bit smaller than his body.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And he's got autism, but he's in college. He can function. But like the kids I played soccer with, like coached, they were on the spectrum. Like they didn't talk, most of them. There was a lot of things they didn't do that, you're like, as opposed to somebody's like, well, they're high functioning. You're like, you seem kind of just, like you wouldn't even know unless somebody told you. Because I think a lot of people look for stuff.
Growing up, I don't recall any of my friends or my classmates, in elementary school as being autistic.
No.
And we had a few kids who had developmental disabilities.
Special.
But they weren't autistic.
No.
They were more physical than, neurological.
It was interesting because, like, when I was growing up, the place where we had, because I went to private school, my mom eventually had to pay schools to take me. But and I'm not kidding.
I believe
I got kicked out of districts. Like, they're like, you can't even ever come back here. We don't want you. Other schools do. But we had the little, like, trailer out there. That's where the special needs kids were. But like you said, it was Down syndrome. It was a few other things.
Yeah.
It was never autism like this. And now they could, there's several buses that come. It's crazy. Coming up, a lot of stuff to talk to today about who knows what. I mean, I got some crazy stories. I got some fun stories. Kids, I've got something here for you that you're going to go, what is that? It's crazy. It's what's happening at movie theaters because of a movie. It is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk, 99.7. Birch Gold. Why gold? Because you see in the markets, you see what's going on out there. You want a safety net. You want to diversify and give yourself something that is going to be a safe haven for your world, especially when it comes to your finances. And that's what gold can give you. The one thing about gold that's great is, A, it's been around forever. It's not going anywhere. It's tangible. It's real. The physical gold, you can hold it. And if you text the word Benson to 989898 today, my buddies over at Birch are going to send you out a free info kit. Let you take a look at why they should be your gold dealer of choice. And that's who I buy mine from. They're amazing. They treat me incredibly well, AAA rated by the Better Business Bureau, and they know what they're doing. And it's about being diversified to protect yourself in the event that something may go chaotic. I don't know, trade wars, inflation, weakening dollar, geopolitical things. This is where money flies to, gold. Protect yourself now with my friends over at Birch. Text the word Benson to 989898 today for Birch Gold.
Sad ending to the search for a little autistic boy in Memphis today. We've got a major advancement of that undocumented students bill over in the state capitol. And in our nation's capital, Congress has kick-started efforts to pass President Trump's domestic agenda. All this and more at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
We still in a tariff war? It's hard for me to tell.
Still there, dude.
I don't even know who... Is the 10% still on everybody? I can't.
Yes.
Everywhere it's a confusion, and apparently I read somewhere that if the meeting's scheduled, they'll pause the 10%. In some stuff it's exempt, some stuff's not exempt. It's so bizarre.
Yeah, from what I understand, the pause is on reciprocal tariffs.
Yes.
That there's still a 10% across the board on everyone but China, because China. Well, they announced earlier today, the White House says that the tariff on China is actually 145%.
Yes, because what they were saying the other day, 125%, is actually that they didn't math the math well. is what they're
They
saying.
didn't math.
They did not math the math well. And when you don't math the math well, this is what you get.
Yes, sir.
So China, more of that stuff.
The tariff on China will now go up to 125% because China imprudently decided to retaliate against the United States. And as I said at the podium yesterday, when you punch at the United States of America, President Trump is going to punch back harder.
That's great, but you guys didn't math the math well. So how should I know that you're going to punch right? What about coffee? Remember there was going to be coffee? There was we're not going to hit the coffee because everybody likes coffee. But now it's like, okay, we're going to do coffee.
I'm more of a tea guy anyway.
I like Diet Coke. If Diet Coke was made in China, we're not good. That's one. We'll look away. Look away, guys. It's Diet Coke. Let it do its thing. You know he would.
Does he like Diet Coke?
That's what he drinks. That's all he drinks.
Oh,
It's Diet Coke.
He literally had a button installed on the Oval Office desk that he can hit, and that button means we need Diet Coke in here.
That is hilarious. I know. Everybody jokes about it. It's like the button, like the red phone or the button you would hit to summon Batman.
Got to get Batman.
It's it. This is what this is. So we're going to leave it. Diet Coke. Don't touch it. Make it here. No taxes for Diet Coke. So just what it is. Big business, little business.
We're already priced at the top range of the set, and we don't really have the power to negotiate with our suppliers either like the big businesses do.
That's the side of this tariff is Walmart and all of them. Do you remember when there was the big, what was it? The strike that was happening in the ports and they couldn't get some of that stuff in?
Yes.
And they were just floating out there? This is the difference between big business and little business. Walmart and Target and them got an exemption where they basically took their own little boats out there and had that stuff offloaded.
Yeah.
And they were able to get people their things or they got them to dock. Little business is where the struggle is going to be. Big business can withstand this for a while. And Walmart says, we're going to change our outlook for this quarter and maybe next quarter. But by the end of the year, we're going to keep the outlook the exact same because they know they can make it up. Where if you're little business and you're living on the edges of those margins, you may not be able to survive till the end of the year. And that's where, this is going to hit people. And I get that we've got to take China on, and I'm fine with that. But you got to be open with everybody. This is why we're doing it. And some of you are unfortunately going to pay the price for it. Long run, it might be great for everybody, but there's a reason besides just we have a trade deficit. We're always going to have a trade deficit with everybody because we have money. They have stuff we want, and we have the money to buy it. And we're tariffing, was it Madagascar for vanilla? Why? Why? This is so bizarre. Oh, my Lord. Coming up, 2 words, kids, chicken jockey. Your kids and your grandkids will know what chicken jockey is. My kids do. Be prepared for it because it's coming. It's already here. People are frustrated about it, mostly adults who own things like theaters. We'll talk about that. More on some tariff stuff, inflation news, the Masters. There's rules at the Masters for the fans that are unlike anything else you'll see in sports. We'll talk about that as well. If you miss any of the show, we say...
12:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Everyone in Middle Tennessee is under at least a level 1 out of 5 risk for severe weather starting around 3 o'clock this afternoon, runs till about 10 o'clock tonight. We'll give you more details coming up during the full forecast in 5 minutes. Right now in Tennessee, a sad ending to the search for a little boy in Memphis today. The Tennessee Bureau of Investigation says 5-year-old Caden Nolan was found dead in a pond following a citywide search for him this morning. He has autism. Authorities say he had gone missing while under the care of his aunt, who fell asleep while watching him. Over at the state capitol, major advancement of the undocumented students bill. The state Senate passing it this morning, 19-13. Now it's up to the House. A hearing is set for Monday morning. If it passes the House, it goes to Governor Lee, who can then sign it into law. And in our nation's capital, Congress has kickstarted efforts to pass President Trump's domestic agenda. The House passing the Senate's framework for a budget that proposes cutting federal spending by $1.5 trillion. Here's Speaker Mike Johnson.
The big components of the One Big Beautiful Bill is to ensure that we don't have the largest tax increase in U.S. history all at once, which is what would happen at the end of this year if we didn't accomplish this mission.
Well, the markets are back in negative territory today after rallying yesterday once President Trump announced that 90-day pause on some of the tariffs on the imports from dozens of countries. The pause would only affect the 75 or so countries the White House says has been negotiating other trade deals. So there's still a 10% baseline tariff for these countries' imports into the U.S. China's tariffs rose, now 145% for imported goods. It's got Case and Crane, the founder of Explorer Cold Brew Coffee, worried.
In the meantime, we're absorbing the costs. I don't want to pass on any price increases to our customers. And frankly, even if I did, I think it would only hurt our business further. We would lose customers.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Why don't you go see my buddies over at Burna? If you like to go out and shoot, but it gets a little expensive, Burna can help you with that and also give you an opportunity to have a non-lethal way to carry something everywhere that can do what you need it to do. And it's incredible. But I love going over there because it's in Franklin. It's amazing because I can go practice without having to spend gobs amount of cash and having a real sense of what it's like to fire off. Their launchers are incredible, and they're used by police forces across the country, growing every single day. If you're thinking to yourself, well, why would I want this? Well, first, for a lot of people out there, maybe it's something that your wife or your kids, you want to introduce them to shooting, but do it in a way that's a little bit different because maybe they're a little scared. This takes that pressure off, but it's also a great way to have real-life training. It's incredible what these launchers can do, and I want you to go try them. Get over there, see my friends. They're right there in Franklin. You can call them. They're open 7 days a week, 615-558-0534, 615-558-0534. Go check them out online as well. Burna.com. Find out exactly where they're located. Burna.com. Check them out. Some of your text in here. Sandra, always nice with the text. Chad, ants have parasites. Yeah, okay. Well, I was like 8, so I think we're good.
I had a cousin, whenever we were little, convince me that fish eggs used for bait was caviar. And I ate one.
Well, I mean,
And then he just laughed.
in theory,
and laughed.
sturgeon eggs, right? Like, isn't that that's what caviar is, right?
Yeah.
But these were different because they were
These came out of my papa's tackle box.
Ken's being very, very weird today.
I love that. I love that. Sherry says, I have a trade deficit with my... Oh, Belle, you have a trade deficit with your grocery store?
Yeah. I only give them money. They give me food.
How's that working for you? You don't give it back either.
Yeah, I know. It's just crazy.
That's a one-way...
I keep trying to sell them stuff, and they're like, no, we don't buy, we sell.
You guys take kidneys? How about that?
How about an eyeball?
You guys take those kidneys? She said, no, we won't have a trade deficit with everyone. They will be equal. And yes, we are the largest consumers. That's why Trump paused 90 days so he could save the little guy and we could squeeze China. Well, the little guy is going to get squeezed in a major way when it comes to manufacturing. And that's a lot of what this is. It's the mid-level company that has stuff manufactured, especially over there. And I'm all about that. And yeah, we're always going to have some trade deficit. And by the way, we have a huge trade surplus with a vast majority of the nations, around the world because trade service. We've talked about this. You don't know what that is. That's like, think of software, AI stuff, all that finance, insurance, those things. Those are how we build up a surplus of trades that we no longer, because we don't manufacture. We just don't. It's not something we're going to do either anytime in the near future in a way that is going to give somebody the opportunity to have a massive, like, hey, you're going to be middle class making $70,000 a year. We're going to have 400 people working in this one line screwing something in. Not unless you want to pay $3,500 for an iPhone. I don't, by the way. I don't have an iPhone. I'm an Android guy. You an Android guy too, right?
Absolutely.
Ken?
I'm an iPhone, boys.
You're boo.
That's what's wrong with him right there.
See, he is being very weird today.
Well, I hope manufacturing comes back the way that everybody thinks, but if it doesn't, and some will come back, but even if it comes back, and instead of having 1,000 jobs, you have 50 jobs, and robots do the rest, you may have a plant, but it's not what people are thinking is coming back here. And everybody says, I'll pay a little bit more for something. Will you pay a lot of bit more for something? Ooh, that's a different story.
Yeah.
Yeah. So if you're going to go to the movies and you're like, hey, I'm going to take my son or my grandson or my kids or whatever, go see a movie. There's a movie called Minecraft that's crushing everybody's soul right now. It came out of nowhere. It looks hilarious. Jason Momoa's in it. Jack Black's in it.
Biggest opening for a video game movie ever.
Ever. By the way, just to let you know, Chicken Jockey.
Probably had heard about Minecraft long before the movie. It's a hugely popular video game where players build fantastical lands and try to protect them from zombies. That built-in audience is bringing fans to the movies in droves thanks to a social media trend. It's also become something of an interactive experience, but not everyone is happy about that.
It's the latest rallying cry for millions of moviegoers.
Chicken Jockey!
Those two little words sending teenage fans of a Minecraft movie into a frenzy, resulting in screaming, popcorn throwing, and soda flying through the air. In at least one case, the police have gotten involved, escorting some of the offenders out of theaters.
It reminds me of Rocky Horror Picture Show, right? So remember Rocky Horror Picture Show where everybody would go and they'd throw, they'd have fun. It would be, it was an interactive stuff that took place and it happened at midnight. But these are young kids who are going crazy. Now you're saying to yourself, okay, explain to me again, What the hell's a chicken jockey?
So what is a chicken jockey? The official definition, a child zombie who rides a chicken, of course. This morning, that craze around chicken jockeys causing one movie theater in New Jersey to take matters into its own hands, instituting a new policy. Minors will now have to have a parent or responsible adult with them if they want to watch the film. The Township Theater in Bergen County writing in a statement that a group of boys engaged in completely unacceptable behavior, including vandalism. They also received multiple complaints from other moviegoers who were trying to enjoy the film with their families.
The manager called us and said that the theater was in bad shape. He said, well, it's a terrible mess. There is lotion squirted all over the place, and there's a row of seats that have been pulled out of the floor.
Are you sure you went to see Minecraft? Because why is there lotion inside of a theater? Seems a bit odd. These kids are
I
tearing.
thought those kind of theaters were closed.
I did too. I didn't even know they made those kind of. But they're tearing up these places. And they showed some pictures of like these are teenagers, right? It's not like it's not. It's not like you're going to see Green Door or something like that way back in the day.
Based on the 2011 video game, the film has already grossed over $163 million in its opening weekend.
Let's do this.
Making it the biggest box office opening of the year. Jason Momoa spoke about filming the scene during the promotional tour.
You remember in the movie where I'm fighting the chicken jockey, which is hilarious. Dude, the chicken's just like, buck, buck. It hits its nose. I lost it because they didn't have that in there when I was doing it.
People go.
Wait, they didn't have that in there? So when you were doing the actual thing on the green screen, there wasn't an actual chicken with a child that's a zombie riding around on it? Get out of town. You are an actor.
People go to movie theaters for the communal experience, and this is part of that. I mean, I know that what we're seeing in videos can be or appear to be distracting for cinema goers, but when you look at who's in the audience, it's filled with young kids who, at this point, are going to see this film for this moment. They're going to have fun.
Stop breaking stuff. This is why we can't have nice things. Man, I would be so pissed off if my kid went and destroyed a theater. I would lose my, you're going to work there for free.
Yeah.
I mean, these kids were tearing this thing up. And yes, we had fun, right? You went to, did you ever go to the Rocky Horror Picture Show?
I never went.
I've never seen Rocky Horror Picture Show.
You've never seen it?
Never seen it.
So
But we didn't tear stuff up.
Yeah, but the Rocky Horror Picture Show, they knew what was coming because it was only at midnight, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was like, okay, everybody's gone. Everybody dressed up as their favorite character. And they would always go in and they would throw popcorn. They would never, my aunt never came home and go, hey, you know what? I decided to rip all the seats out. And here's one of them for you.
Yeah.
This level of kids, they just take things just a little further. But kids out there, if you're listening, right? You're don't mess with your parents. Listen to what they're saying. And parents, watch out for the chicken jockey. The Masters is going on right now. I love the Masters. If you guys don't know what that is, that's a golf tournament. Some of you may not know what it is, which is a shame because you should. And it is incredible because it's just it's the whole thing. Augusta's gorgeous. It's beautiful. I love it. You know, it starts out with Jim Nance doing his thing for years.
And hello, friends. Hello, friends. Hello, friends. Hello, friends. And hello, friends. Hello, friends. Hello, friends. Hello, friends. Hello, friends. Welcome to this tradition unlike any other.
Unlike any other. And it's awesome. There are all kinds of rules at the Masters for the patrons because you're not a guest and you're not a fan. You're a patron.
The Masters has rules about what players can wear, what visiting fans are called, and even what those fans are allowed to do when they're at the course. Take a look. The greens, the azaleas, the leaderboard. These are some of the iconic things at the Masters tournament at Augusta National Golf Club. But there are some unique things that make this tournament stand out.
It is the first major championship on the golf schedule, so it really ramps things up for the rest of the season. It's also very different in the sense that that's the only major where you play on the same course every single year.
And it is amazing to watch, and I love it. And if you've ever watched the Masters, you're like, why is it so vibrant? It's so much different. Coming from, if you guys, and I love golf, I went out to all the time to the Waste Management Open in Phoenix. Now, that is a party. We were talking to Chris before about Live Golf. Waste Management is kind of what Live Golf has based everything off of. It is a party. It is, in America, by the way, for spectator sports, it's like the biggest spectator sport is waste management. They'll have about 150 to 200,000 fans a day on Friday, Saturday. About another 100,000 on Thursday, Sunday. And Sunday's always Super Bowl Sunday. It is chaos. It is crazy. People are drunk everywhere. It is crazy like you cannot believe. The Masters, subdued like you could not believe.
We all know the iconic green jacket, but if you win more than once, you don't get another jacket. And Augusta National has a strict dress code. Caddies have to wear a white jumpsuit. Patrons, and they are called patrons, not guests, can't wear their hats backwards. And anyone on the course or in the practice area can't wear shorts. Arizona State men's golf head coach Matt Thurman found out the hard way when he went to say hi to a former player. Thurman, posting on X, strolled out onto the Augusta range today with my coach badge, got removed for wearing shorts. First bogey of the week. As a spectator, shorts are okay, but on the practice tee, they aren't. Thurman clarified he wasn't removed from the grounds, just reminded he couldn't be on the driving range in shorts.
Nuts. And here's the other thing. You can't wear your hat backwards if you're a patron. You're not a fan. You can't wear it backwards. You have to have your hat on straight. And this is the one that gets so many people. No cell phones on the grounds. So when you watch all the other golf tournaments, and they pretty much any sport, everybody's, or anything anymore, they all have their cell phone up. No cell phones on the ground. So yesterday they were talking about when the market went crazy. I don't know if you're aware of this, the Masters. Chances are a lot of people there are in the stock market. People had no idea what was going on. They have pay phones or people were running over when they were hearing that there was some chaos going on in the stock market. It's just an interesting place, and the food is dirt cheap. It's like $1.50 for a sandwich, $3 for barbecue. They want to make it about the fans the patrons and the players. And that's why I love it. And it's also interesting because they will pipe in on television sounds of the birds and the white sands. Because why are they so white? It's granulated. This is what's so funny. They bring this in special to look great. Granulated quartz to make it look even whiter. That's why I love the Masters. It's just fun to watch. A lot of stuff still to get to. Yes, we're going to talk serious stuff too. We're going to talk. Some of you is like, not a sports station. We're going to talk about, yes, we're going to talk trade for the next 2 hours. Who's excited? You excited? Anybody? No.
I'll be in the kitchen if you need me.
Me too.
Hopefully I won't be in the kitchen during my next newscast.
I heard about that. Are you okay? Everybody's like, man, something's wrong with Ken.
Yeah.
Ken's weird.
Dude, I don't know what happened, man, but after I did my teas, the teas for the 11:30 cast, I just got up, went to the bathroom. Remember, I saw you in the hall.
Yeah. You were saying, hey, Chad, what's going on?
So, I just did my business, and then I thought, I'm going to go get a cup of coffee.
Were you just lost of time, or did you just think just whatever?
Dude, I have no idea.
There you go.
Went and got my cup of coffee, came out of the kitchen, and there's Chris standing in the hallway, and I said, what are you doing out here, dude? Because I thought he had to be on the air. And he goes, I'm worried about you.
That's how it starts, Ken.
And then I thought, am I okay?
That's how it starts.
I know, man.
Right there. Just incredible. Man.
I've done that before, but I've made it back in time.
I have.
But this time, I don't know, man. I wasn't even thinking.
And you know what's funny is not only you're not thinking, you were just very casual about like, what's up? How you guys doing?
I was, hey, man, what are you doing out here?
Chris comes out. He's like, is Ken okay? And I'm like, because he made it sound like you fell or you disappeared.
Yeah, he said he was coming to check on me, make sure I haven't collapsed in the news booth.
Oh, man, that's awesome. He's alive, though. We know that.
Must be some residual
We've
effects
been
from
insulted.
substances.
You and I have been insulted. Because
I get insulted all the time.
Well, I do too, but because we have androids.
Oh, they can kiss my ass.
He's got no head, but he's got balls. Ladies and gentlemen, bow! It's the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Rough Greens. RUFFgreens.com. Vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9, all this incredible stuff packed into an amazing supplement that you give your dog on a daily basis, and it is awesome. My dogs love it. I give it to my mom for her dogs. Now, my mother's dog, so I've got tiny dogs. Tiny dogs. My mother's got ginormous dogs. To tell you how big her dogs is, her smallest dog is her St. Bernard. She doesn't have any dire wolves, but she's working on it. But I will tell you this, they take Rough Greens too. They have no issues with allergies or shedding, and she noticed within the first few weeks how much better it was for her dogs. Try a Jumpstart trial bag of Rough Greens. They have a 90-day challenge where you'll see your dog improve like you cannot believe. The Jumpstart trial bag, it's a $20 value. It's absolutely free. All you have to do is cover the cost of shipping. RUFFgreens.com. Use my code Chad. Roughgreens.com. Use code Chad.
Congress kickstarting the effort to enact President Trump's domestic agenda. That's coming up at 1 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
We haven't talked much about airplane stuff. How about this one?
American says several hours into the flight, the man was upset he didn't get the in-flight meal he believed he'd requested. He also tried taking an exit row, challenging flight attendants when told he couldn't sit there because he was traveling with a child.
This guy was pissed because he didn't get his meal that he swore he paid for. And the flight took off from JFK heading to Milan, right? So you're going to Milan. It's already a long flight, all right? We're doing this. We're in this tube. And the dude got wackadoo. 4 hours in, they said, we have to turn around and head back. You're 4 hours into that flight. You know, sometimes people just need a beating.
I wonder if they were serving him drinks.
I don't know, but I will tell you this. Like, what happened? He had the chicken, and then his eyes swole up. Yeah, I don't know. It just, his lip got fat. And
nose started bleeding.
That's it. And then all of a sudden, duct tape appeared. Just crazy. That's weird. I hope he has fun in Milan. I don't know what he ate, but I didn't have it. I brought my own snacks. I've often wondered, like, you get out 4 hours and you try to fly back. Like, what do you do? Do you stay on the same plane? Because have you gone far enough where you'll have to go through customs because it's international, and then you'll have to go through the whole rigmarole again? They have to get a new batch of pilots because they've already started their hours, so they're 8 hours in, so you can't, I mean, man, that's got to be frustrating.
Just from one person.
It's one person. Like, he's not a threat, right? There's enough. We could tie him up. Like, why does he have to ruin our day?
That or just open the back exit and toss him out.
That's it, you know.
They should have like an extra, they should leave a seat open for a person like that, where you dispatch them and then you tie them up in that seat and the flight goes on, you know, uninterrupted.
Well, they should have a vote. When do we get a vote?
I wouldn't even worry about a seat. I would just find an overhead bin and tie him up and stuff him in that.
Yeah. I mean, there's just... He wanted to challenge like the flight attendants to a fight, but
you want to fight, bro? You want to fight me? Let's go. Let's do this.
He's obviously not going to, you know, if he's out of his mind psycho. Well, this is why I don't worry about anybody doing what happened on 9/11 again, because nobody's ever going to allow that again. Oh, sure, somebody may be able to blow something up, and which is scary, but the reality of somebody taking over the airplane again is never, because nobody's ever going to allow that.
No.
Enough people will bum rush.
Well, there's probably somebody on there with a gun, a marshal.
You would hope so. I heard there's not as many as we thought. Because do you ever do that when you get on a plane? You look around like,
yeah, you look around and say
who's the one?
That's the one.
That's the guy.
That's the guy that's got the gun. That's the guy right there.
I'm moving my seat next to him.
And he's probably a bad shot, so if something was to happen, he's going to hit it. The plane's going to decompress. I've seen this before. We know what this movie's all about. There'll be snakes on our plane. You see where we're going. Coming up next hour, touch a little bit on tariffs. Got some of your text messages. Some of you think I'm very negative. I'm not. I'm honest. I pull for this president. I pull for America. Did you not listen this week about how amazing we are? Absolutely. But we should want honesty, shouldn't we? That's what I think. Plus, a bunch of other good stuff. We got some fun stuff as well, kids. It is Chad Benson, Super Talk 997.
One o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. That's when we'll give you the details on the risk for severe weather here in Middle Tennessee. Terrible ending to the search for a little autistic boy in Memphis today. Authorities say they found 5-year-old Caden Nolan dead in a pond after an hours-long search. He had gone missing. He had been under the care of his aunt, who had fallen asleep while she was watching him. Over at the state capitol, the bill that allows schools to refuse to enroll illegal immigrant children has passed the full state Senate, 19-13. It's now up to the House, which takes it up on Monday morning. And if it passes, it goes to Governor Lee, who can sign it. Over in our nation's capital, Congress has kickstarted efforts to pass President Trump's domestic agenda. The House passing the Senate's framework for a budget. It proposes cutting federal spending by $1.5 trillion. Speaker Mike Johnson says it's not just about tax cuts.
We're talking about ensuring that the border is secure, having the resources that are necessary to do that. We're talking about getting the American economy going again by reducing regulation.
At least 184 people now confirmed dead after that roof collapse at a nightclub in the Dominican Republic. Crews still in recovery mode. No cause has been determined yet. ABC's Victor Oquendo is in Santo Domingo. He says a band was performing when the roof collapsed.
Members of that band killed. Also among the deceased, 2 former Major League Baseball players, Octavio Dotel and Tony Blanco. Blanco, according to reports, saved one of his former teammates by pushing him out of the way of falling debris.
Back to our nation's capital.
This is a special report from ABC News. I'm Sherry Preston. Stocks giving back a chunk of their historic gains from the day before as Wall Street continues to weigh the effects of a global trade war will have on the U.S. economy. ABC Chief Business Correspondent Rebecca Jarvis with more on the 90-day pause President Trump announced on Wednesday after a major sell-off in the bond market.
What the market is doing is it's reflecting the degrees of uncertainty that still exist. This pause is something that many of the president's supporters were calling for, and it was so that this White House, the administration, can make these negotiations, can sift through some of the questions that exist without doing damage.
The pause does not apply to Chinese goods.
And we got a new inflation report today.
Not only was inflation cooler than expected in March, it showed a promising long-term trend. Core prices for goods other than food and energy were up by just 0.1%. Their 2.8% yearly increase, the smallest since March of 2021. On the whole, lower energy prices helped bring down inflation in March. They fell by 2.4%. But the report's major caveat, this information predates the trade war escalation.
That's Jay O'Brien. And the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Yeah. voter ID, it kind of got through, like it did. A couple of Democrats voted for it. Watching people, yes, I know. Everybody is. We're all racist. You know that. That's what they're going to say. Everybody's racist.
Hey, voter ID's racist, man. I was credibly told that.
By people, yes. Yes, absolutely. It's suppression. It's not just racism. It's suppression.
Some people just aren't smart enough to know where to go get an ID.
How racist is that? I always go back to Kathy Hochul when she was talking about, black kids don't know how to get on the internet. And remember that kid who did the video where he was like looking at the computer and throwing it in the air and running around and kicking it? Because they're not victims. They're Americans. They know exactly where to go. In most states, in fact, I think everywhere, if you hit 18, you have to have an ID. And they're like, well.
Hell, you hit 16 and most kids have an ID.
Well, oddly enough, not anymore, because it's weird that kids don't want to drive anymore. It's so odd. Like, my kids can't wait to drive.
I didn't get my license till I was 17.
Why?
I didn't want it.
Well,
I had nowhere to go.
You know, friends. It's just going to be a hassle. I'm going to get this thing, and they're going to make
this is suddenly taking a dark turn.
Why? Are you serious?
Yeah, I just didn't want it. I didn't care.
I couldn't wait.
The day after my 17th birthday, my mother came in my room, yanked me up, made me go to the DMV and get my license.
That's like my brother who played hockey. It was the same thing. My mom's like, I don't want to drive anymore, Tristan. You're 17, almost 8. You go get your own, Nobody wants to drive you at 3:30 in the morning, when you're done playing with your buddies. Or because they would start practicing sometimes at 11 o'clock at night. My mom's like, I don't want to pick you up anymore. But voter ID, kids, it's super, super racist. It's never been more racist than before. It passed the House. It's not going to pass the Senate. I'm not being negative. So many of you, you're negative. I'm not negative. I'm honest. I'm not here for affirmation. I'm going to give you information. That's what you guys should want. Information. I'm going to give you my opinion based on the facts and the data, not the feelings of what some people want to, say. Hey, say this because this is what it's all about. No. Could this thing pass the Senate? Yes, but it's probably not. Unless something crazy is going to happen and you're going to be able to get 7 more senators to jump from the Democratic side to the Republican side on voter ID. But it is the dumbest argument that somehow you're going to suppress voters. Remember when they did that? Was it Georgia? When they took the baseball game away from them and all this. Gave it to, first of all, they gave it to Colorado, who's even got a more stringent policy. Right? Secondly, more people showed up and voted than in the previous election because of voter ID. It's just, and we're never talking about Asians, right? We're never talking about Hispanic Americans or any. We're always talking about Black Americans. They always make it seem like, well, Black America can't find the DNA. Yes, they can. And they do. And stop treating them like they're a victim. This is one of them that loves the treats like victim. Mr. Padilla here, Senator Padilla.
When this is a solution in search of a problem, this is a classic example of the SAVE Act. What Republicans are doing is once again demonizing immigrants for the sake of making it harder for eligible citizens to register to vote and to cast their ballots in elections. It's voter suppression in disguise, not so much of a disguise. Here's the truth. It is already illegal for non-citizens to vote in our elections. Even the very conservative Heritage Foundation has only found less than 70 instances of a non-citizen voting over the last 40 years. Our current laws and protections are working. What would the SAVE Act do? It would make it harder for members of the military, for example, when they're deployed to a different base and maybe have to re-register, and it's not so easy, from not maybe being able to vote in the next election. Or a woman who's married and changed her last name and all of a sudden her ID doesn't match her birth certificate. This is voter suppression, and it's unnecessary. The last big piece of hypocrisy here, Jose, is when Democrats have proposals on how we strengthen our democracy and voting rights, the Republicans are so quick to say, no, states run elections. The federal government should not dictate how states do it. But when it's Donald Trump who has these horrible ideas, they're silent and want to advance that. Even Mitch McConnell knows better and has spoken publicly against both the executive order that Donald Trump is trying to do and the SAVE Act, which includes the same provisions.
Stop saying how racist it is. Stop saying how it's suppression. By the way, and I love this. David just sent this. It's so right. Thomas Sowell, one of the great minds of our time. So the soft bigotry of low expectations. And by the way, he is right about very little evidence of people that are here, non-citizens voting. The Heritage Foundation found 77 instances between 1999 and 2023. It is exceptionally uncommon. Less than 1%, in many cases, 0.1% of people being caught. You can go look on several different places. The Brennan Center, they looked at 23.5 million votes across 42 jurisdictions. 2016 found 30 suspected cases of non-citizens voting. It's still not a big deal. If I've got to show my license to get Sudafed, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll need your fingerprint. We need your blood type. How many kids do you have? 3. Well, now you have 2. We're going to have to hold on to one to make sure you don't make meth in your bathtub.
Yeah.
Then you should be able to go, here's a license. It's not that hard. Well, what if the name's different? Really? Yeah, the name's different. I've gone, oh, yeah, well, here it is. And here's a piece of mail. It's so ridiculous. Both... in some ways, yes, it is. They're looking for the problem because they've got a solution. But it's also something that's common sense. Germany, Belgium, Denmark, Brazil, we can go on and on. Countries around the globe. They not only in some places, they make you actually, you vote and they'll make you put your fingerprint on certain things. Goodness me, it's not a big deal. Stop treating people as if they're idiots. But that's the way you do it because that's what wins votes. People are asking, that's right. Somebody said many more that didn't get caught. Well, you got to prove that, though. See, that's the thing. You have to prove it. And if you can't prove it, then you have to go with what's in front of you. And if what's in front of you says 77 people out of the last 24 years, that's all you can kind of go with. One of the people say it's not going to pass. Dems won't help them get it through. No, they're not. And you need 60 votes. The threshold of breaking the tie, that's the judicial side of stuff when you're trying to get through judges. That's when Harry Reid did the
nuclear option.
The nuclear option. So when it comes to this, you're going to need 60 vote threshold.
Well, you got to have 60 just for cloture, right?
Yeah.
So that just to stop the debate, to move on to the vote on an up or down vote, you have to have 60 people agree to it.
Yeah, and that's not going to happen. I mean, the Democrats, they're not, even though there was 2 Democrats that voted for this, that's just not going to happen at this point in time. Unless there was massive, you've got to prove massive fraud. That's what I always said. Prove everything. It makes it easier for people to believe you. If saying something like take my word for it, that doesn't get most people to go, oh, yeah, well, I'm just going to take your word for it. You got to be, I'm a data guy. You know, some people said earlier, like, Chad, you're negative. I'm not negative. I'm going to give you, I love data and facts. They're amazing. And when you've got those things, and you're not always going to have the right data and facts, you may have partial, but you can only go with what you can go with. And somebody just texted in and said, well, what about all the people they didn't catch? Well, that doesn't, you've got to have those things and present those things and back those things up. When you do that, well, then this narrative would change. If you found 100,000 people that voted illegally, that would change in a heartbeat the way that people would approach voter ID. But you haven't. And so that's why many Democrats aren't really on board with this thing. Plus, they like to make sure, the low expectation. Hey, we're doing this for you guys. Yeah, because we know that you're struggling there. No, you're not. And stop treating people like they're all victims. They're not. Tariffs, 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 more tariffs. There is tariffs. There isn't tariffs. There's some tariffs. Tariffs over here, tariffs over there. Everybody's got 10%, but some of you have just the 10. Some of you may have a little bit more. China, you got a lot of bit more.
There are no conversations right now with China. China is not one of the 75 countries that has reached out to the White House. The White House is very eager for those conversations to get underway. They're essentially waiting right now for China to reach out.
So China's got to reach out, and we're going to be waiting for that because I don't think Xi's going to reach out anytime soon. I think he's going to take up this mantle for as long as he possibly can. And I saw today that they're ready to unleash $1.9 trillion tsunami in the trade war. Okay. Then if that's what you want to do, I mean, at the end of the day, this is, for lack of a better term, it's a pissing contest between two men, which is a weird way to settle anything. Could you imagine that if they're sitting at a table? You want to do this? All right, zip. But that's kind of what
probably
this
wouldn't go over well with the people sitting around in other parts of the restaurant
no,
or wherever
would not.
you were.
It would not. But let's see what takes place in the coming days. Let's see what political will the country has, as well as the president. If he's got, because I think look, you got to take China on at some point in time. This has always been about the bigger picture than just trade with China. But you have to factor in politics. Xi's not worried. Xi is now that he's been elected again, this is it. This gig's his for life. Trump, he's done after this, despite what some people out there would like to think. So he's not worried about running again. But what he is worried about is if I lose the House and the Senate, and we're already having issues getting things passed, imagine what it's going to be like if not only can I not get anything through, I also got to spend the last 2 years fending off every kind of investigation that you could possibly find, which is something I'm sure he's not really interested in.
In terms of what we export less than we import from China, but our farmers are really impacted here. Soybeans, wheat, corn are just some of the items that we export over to China, and also petroleum oil, gasoline.
Gasoline. But the imports, Dan, that's where they get us because we like crap.
Last year, we imported about $440 billion worth of goods into the U.S. That represents about 13.5% of all goods coming into the U.S. And it runs the gamut from cell phones, other electronics, appliances, furniture, toys, clothing, and also foot apparel, lots of sneakers, boots, things like that coming from China.
Boots? These boots are made for walking. I've not seen anything take a jump in price yet, but I'm curious to see, because so much of the stuff that we buy it's a lot of want, not a lot of need. When the needs start to get super expensive, then there will be issues. But that's a big when, because I don't know when and what your need is. Like I bought pickleball stuff over the last couple of days because I have a big tournament coming up. And so I got some new stuff. And I'm sure some of it was made. You know, the thing is, I don't know what's made in China because you don't know until it gets there. Sometimes you think it's an American company. It gets there and you're like, oh, it's all made in China. They just slap their name on it. When the need gets so big that the prices really start to get away, that's when the pressure will be on. But I think a lot of our goods that we're buying over there were, like I joke about, socks and a lot of other junk that we could get here and maybe elsewhere that, you know, that's the big hope. But our farmers are potential to suffer. There's no doubt about that because there's going to be winners and losers in this. Even if us long-term is a winner, short-term there will be some losers. Coming up, a lot of good stuff to get to today. Man, we got so much crap still. I have so much stuff. I'm going to just, you know what, close my eyes and we'll just throw a dart against the wall and see what we do next. It is the Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. That's if Ken shows up to any of his newscasts. You never know. He may or may not. Bulwark Capital. You guys want to talk to my buddies over there? My buddy, Zach Abraham, Chief Investment Officer, Bulwark. Speak to him later on tonight. He's been expecting stuff like this in the market for quite a while. Let me tell you why they're different. First of all, active managers. They're working with you every single day. They're making sure that you understand your investments and your retirement. These are things that are built specifically for you. This isn't cookie cutter. It's not what they do. Lower risk, lower cost, lower volatility. Once you call them, get a second opinion on what's going on in your portfolio and with your investments. Call 866-779-RISK today, 866-779-RISK. Now, when you do, it takes a little bit of time, and worst case scenario is you learn something. Best case scenario is you walk away and go, wow, I would really like to work with these guys. Call Bulwark today or check them out online. Simple and easy, knowyourriskradio.com, KNOW, yourriskradio.com. Investment advisory service offered through Trek Financial LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Investments involve risk and are not a guarantee. Past performance not guarantee future results. Trek 24173.
All right, drivers, looks like things are still trying to get back up to speed. If you're eastbound on the East Loop, we had a crash that was blocking the left lane of the off-ramp to go eastbound on I-40 from 24. Terrible ending to the search for a little autistic Memphis boy. Tennessee a few votes away from a law that will surely head to the U.S. Supreme Court. And you got to hear President Trump's response to China cutting off Hollywood. That's coming up at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Hollywood, no, for you. They only allow a certain amount of movies over in China every year. So Hollywood's not like every blockbuster. You have to apply years in advance. It's they don't allow if it's too woke, too crazy, too wacky, goes against anything that China would be seen as something that could influence their people in a negative way. It's never getting over there.
Right.
No new Winnie the Pooh movies.
No Winnie the Pooh movies. If you guys don't know, Xi has banned Winnie the Pooh because for years people have said he looks like Winnie the Pooh, which really angers him. I don't see it. I don't. First of all, you wear pants. It's
I saw a report yesterday where, when everything was going down with, Trump excluding China from, the tariff negotiations, apparently they blocked anything on social media about that.
Yeah.
Nothing.
Those people have no idea.
They have no idea what's going on out in the real world.
No. Oh, no. They're completely, that's the way they do things is, and how they block stuff is tremendous. It doesn't mean stuff doesn't get through. They have VPNs and certain things, but we knew about, like yesterday I was talking about the Masters when, it was like practice day, it's the par 3 contest. There's no phones allowed at the Masters. People freaked out. They have pay phones, and people were waiting in line because the stocks were going crazy, and some people lost a bunch of money. Some people are making a bunch of money, and they're trying to figure out what's happening. They could shut that whole thing down. I mean, it's fascinating to watch what they do and how they do it, and it's also terrifying.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you have central planning, which is, goodness me. And Hollywood, it's... You don't want to say you don't want to...
Hollywood's not going to like Trump now.
No, they don't like Trump. Well, you know what, though? They're begging Trump to fix the AI stuff so they don't have to worry about all their likenesses being stolen. They're begging Trump for certain things. And the money's great in Hollywood if you get invited over to do a movie. What was that? The Dragon Wall with, did you see it? It was John Cusack. This is so...
Interesting. John Cusack.
So it was like John Cusack. It was the guy in The Brutalist. Is it Adrian Brody? Or what? Adrian, what is his name? Brody?
Adrian Brody is his name.
Yeah. It was him and it was Matt Damon. They did this movie. And they probably all got $25, $30, $40, $50 million to this movie. It was crap. It was horrible. It was the dumbest movie ever.
Talking about the science fiction movie that was sort of like they were going up against the Chinese Great Wall.
Yeah, it's the Great Wall.
Yeah, the Great Wall.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, it's so funny because these actors go over there. They're not even trying. They're like, yeah, that's great. There's a monster. Thanks for my $25 million. Appreciate that. That's great. Thank you guys so much for this.
I'm gonna go buy a dire wolf with my money.
Not before I do.
Oh, Lord. Speaking of Trump, speaking from the White House.
And there'll be a transition cost and transition problems, but in the end, it's going to be a beautiful thing. We're doing again what we should have done many years ago. We let it get out of control, and we allowed some countries to get very big and very rich at our expense, and can't let that happen. And
can't let that happen. Not going to let it happen. Well, it's already happened, and it happened when we tried panda diplomacy with Kissinger and Nixon. I think everybody thought we opened them up to the world. They're going to see how great the world is. They'll have a chance to make money. Freedoms will come in, and centralized planning continues to win. And it's this battle is going to be a while. There's going to be some winners and losers. There's no doubt. But that's every situation like this. And you don't want to see a bunch of people, struggling. At the same time, long term, is it going to be better for us? I think it's going to be better for the world and the people that decide to come with us. Because I saw was it Spain yesterday is already like, well, we're going to go deal with China. Go ahead. Have fun. I'd be like, you Spanish anyways. You know, have you seen that how upset people are in Spain about all the tourism? So they're over it in Barcelona and stuff. People will go up and now they're squirt gunning tourists. Like, get away. We don't want you here.
Really?
Yes. And that's pissed a lot of tourists off. So they're starting to pull back. But then all the people who have businesses are like, you're killing our business.
Right.
So it's that weird situation of we don't want you here, but we need your money.
Right.
So if you could just send your money and not come, that'd be great. Doesn't work that way, people. It doesn't work that way. Coming up, Biden, he's gone now. More and more people are coming out going, all right, we knew some stuff. But an interesting conversation that took place between Bari Weiss and the two guys who are the founders of Axios on why nobody trusts the media. We'll talk about that straight ahead. Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
1:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We'll give you the details on this severe weather threat coming up during the full forecast in 5 minutes. A terrible ending to the search for an autistic little boy in Memphis. Authorities say 5-year-old Caden Nolan was found dead in a pond today. He had been under the care of his aunt, who fell asleep while she was watching him. Right now in Tennessee, the undocumented students bill has passed the full state Senate. Now only has to get through the House before Governor Lee can sign it into law. The bill says state school districts can refuse to enroll illegal immigrant children unless their parents pay tuition. Over in the nation's capital, the House narrowly passed the Senate's framework to enact the Trump-backed budget to cut federal spending by $1.5 trillion. Speaker Mike Johnson says committees are going to be taking a couple of days off for Easter and Passover and then get right to work.
The committees in the Senate and the House will be working in a collaborative fashion. We've explained that this really is a one-team approach by Republicans in both chambers. I'm so grateful to Leader Thune and his steady hand of leadership. We had a joint press conference this morning making our commitments known of what we're going to try to do, and that is ensure real savings for the American people.
China, not one of the countries the White House is negotiating with during this 90-day pause on tariffs. China's tariffs actually going up, now 145% for imported goods. President Trump at a cabinet meeting this morning had this to say after learning that China, the world's second largest film market, will be cutting off screenings of Hollywood films.
I think I've heard of worse things.
And your walk around Nashville may be about to get quicker. NDOT putting in new signals at more than 100 intersections. The signals give more time to cross the street. And NDOT says it has data showing that signals helped lower pedestrian crashes by 13%. People should start to see the new signals at the intersections over the next 2 months. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Busy Bee Plumbing, HVAC. They got you covered. They do. Now, check this out. You can join the famous Beehive Club, which is awesome, and take advantage of all the great deals they have, amazing opportunities to make sure that you're protected when it comes to your HVAC, right? They've got deep clean for your drains. They've got stuff for your HVAC when it comes to, especially spring is here, right? You're firing that thing up, want to make it cool. You want to make sure it works. They've got you covered. And the beauty of joining the Beehive Club is you get discounts, but you also get top of the list. When things go a little sideways, Busy Bee, make sure that you're there, ready to roll at the top of the list when things are really busy. And they've got incredible deals going on, like the toilet tune-up, 3 levels, fresh start, flush, and hassle. Don't worry about any of it. They're going to come out and take a look at everything for you. Go right now, join the club, the famous Beehive Club with Busy Bee. Call 775-7833, 775-7833, or visit busybhvac.com.
Did you know you're overpaying for your health and wellness products?
With over 20 company-owned brands offering its members vitamins, supplements, wellness, and skincare products, you're able to save up to 70% off retail.
Members Nutrition can't change your life, but we can change the way you live.
Weather can change in an instant, and you need to be prepared for any outcome. That's why Generator Supercenter of Nashville will help keep your family safe and connected. We make buying a backup generator simple and easy, with financing options available, free in-home estimate, turnkey installations, no worry warranty, and most importantly, the monitoring and service of your fully installed generator. Come see us at our location in Nashville or visit us online. Generator Supercenter of Nashville. We serve all Middle Tennessee.
Dun, 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 dun. Still one of my favorite moments in TV history. A moment that, will never not be funny. And also never aged well. Ladies and gentlemen, do you guys remember this?
Because I'm about to tell you the truth. And F you if you can't handle the truth. This version of Biden, intellectually, analytically, is the best Biden ever. Not a close second. And I've known him for years. The Brzezinskis have known him for 50 years. If it weren't the truth, I wouldn't say it.
That did not age well.
No.
That will never not be funny. Oh, and I say that because Bari Weiss, you guys know who she is. She has the free press. She's great. So they brought her in after Trump had won in 2016 to the New York Times because they were like, oh, my God, I can't believe people voted for him. What state did they vote for him in? And then they found out there are people outside of New York and Los Angeles. Which they were shocked. So they brought her in because she's a journalist, first and foremost. She's kind of a libertarian. So anything that's not, uber progressive and a Manhattanite is seen as a right-wing Nazi. And they bring her in, and the goal they set for her was go out and talk to these people because they were terrified. Like, what do you mean? We can't do it. So she's like, I'll do it. And after a while, she realized they're never going to print anything. They do not want to hear the truth that, no, these people aren't crazy. They're not Nazis. They're none of those things. They just didn't like Hillary. And eventually she got frustrated and bounced. So she started the Free Press, which is awesome. And she had the guys on from Axios. And it's very interesting because she was asking them essentially like, okay, guys, you want everybody to trust the media because you guys are journalists? Jim Hyade and all these guys, you want that. Why? Why should anybody trust the media? You guys couldn't even, get it right when it comes to Biden and his health.
What explains the failure? Is it a lack of curiosity? Was it the White House successfully spinning people? How do you explain what happened, Mike?
Yeah, Barry, this was all the worst parts of reporter brain coming together. And there is the groupthink, the monothink that you were talking about. You add to it another piece of what you were just talking about is cluelessness, right? Like, and this is where the American people see something, sense something, and they're not seeing it reflected in news outlets that they used to trust.
No, wrong. It's not clueless. How are you clueless? Especially if you work at the White House and they don't have press conferences. And when you do see him, you recognize he is a disaster. An absolute, utter disaster. Exactly. 100%. He doesn't know. Continue, sir.
And so specifically with the Biden health, people discounted what they saw with their own eyes, ignored it. And this is the reporter groupthink part of it, that there is an insecurity, a herd mentality. You don't want to be separate is like the typical reporter instinct. And like, the three of us have made great lives and a great innovation by saying we did want to be the one that's different. But it's the hardest thing to teach your kid. It's hard to teach a reporter. We tell our reporters, if you go somewhere and there's two other reporters, you can leave. There's no story. If there is, we'll see it on TV.
Which is weird. But, and I will say this, older journalists are able to do something because they built a career that a young journalist can't do. Like, I worked with young journalists. When I was out in Phoenix, let me tell you about the world of radio we work in. It's like a lot of places, it's thin, if that makes sense. Newsrooms aren't packed. When I worked out in Arizona, because Bonneville was owned by the church, we didn't have to answer to all these corporate things. We had tons of journalists, most of them very young. And it was very much, they were very, you knew where their politics were. But at the same time, they were very straightforward with the things that they were doing as far as like this. I'm going to give you everything that is, the who, what, when, how, and why, and that's it. But many of them that did leave and have to go elsewhere, they weren't allotted that opportunity to do that because you were surviving on clicks, likes, shares, getting paid in some cases by clicks, likes, and shared. And they became advocates. Some, got out of the business altogether because they're like, that's not why I got into journalism. So if you're older, yeah, I can see why you could say that. But the reality is journalists, so-called today, they're not that. You know what they are? They're advocates. For the most part, they're advocates. And I'm talking about newsrooms and established media world. They're advocates. They're part of something. If you're at Fox, you know where they're leaning. If you're anywhere else, for the most part, you kind of know where they're leaning. And the world saw what was going on. And you did nothing. I am still to this day amazed that there was nobody who wanted to be the next Woodward or Bernstein and really dig deep and challenge. But then you find out there were a few. But what happened to them? They got crushed. They got crushed, which is crazy.
But Mike, what did the herd? I agree with you that herd mentality, groupthink is incredibly powerful. It's something we all learned in COVID. But what did the herd want in this case? Right? They wanted
the herd. Yeah, the herd wanted the approval of the White House, connectivity of the White House. Mm-hmm. They didn't want to look like they were being ideological on Twitter or on other social media, when in fact they were being clinical.
But they were being that. They were absolutely being who they were on Twitter. And that's one of the things the other co-founder of Axios talks about is once Twitter came about, that changed everything because you got to find out, these journalists would put their thoughts out there. You go look at Walter Cronkite, raging lefty. Would you have known that? No, you wouldn't. Because he never brought that to Peter Jennings. They didn't bring it to their work. Their work was to report the news, not comment on the news, and not lead you into a direction they want you to be because they weren't part of a tribe. They were journalists. It was a job.
The only time I ever specifically remember Cronkite getting emotional or poor showing any kind of bias in the news was when he started crying after the death of John Kennedy.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people probably did.
I think a lot of people did, that's how far it had to go for him to interject his personal philosophy into things.
Yeah. And it's frustrating because I'm one of these guys. I'm not a journalist, right? I'm a schmo. I'm a talking head. That's who I am. I'm a talking head, but I pride myself on double, triple checking. I pride myself on giving you the truth. I pride myself, and some of you get pissed off at me. You're not this, you're not that, and you don't like the president or you're too much on this side. No, what I am is somebody who wants to give you the truth based on data and facts. I don't want to blow smoke. And the other part of this is us. We have now all gone to a certain area where affirmation is far more important than information. You want somebody to tell you the things that you want to hear. You're not interested in making up your own, mind in certain things. And because we've become so tribal. And that's not a good place to be. Because then you get to a point where, okay, I've got to try to figure out how to tell you the story you want to hear so you'll continue to listen or like or whatever, because otherwise you may kick me out of the tribe, and I don't want to be kicked out of the tribe. By the way, I'm not in any tribes. As I've always said, I am a Ronin. I wander the earth without a master, looking for great adventures.
I feel like the trust really started to shatter over the last decade, and I look at it as in three phases. The first was the creation of Twitter. What happened with Twitter is people forget, like now it's a lot of conservative voices, a lot of independent voices. It was a hotbed of liberal groupthink for a long time. And it was the first time since I've been in this business that I would get on a feed and I would see reporters who I had trusted, who I had admired, making it crystal clear what their views were, what side they were on. You could tell in what they were tweeting, and you could tell in who they were following and who was following them. So I thought that was stage one, because at least before any bias people had, they hid from the public. Now it was in somewhat full view.
Which is, I mean, now you can't hide that. Now we were talking about Blue Sky the other day. You go over there, there's tons of journalists over there. The things they say are insane. And the problem is because they're on TV or because they write for the New York Times or somebody, people give them all of this kind of the benefit of the doubt that everything they say comes from a neutral standpoint. And that's, as we all know, not true. That's not true at all. And Axios, who I use and like, and I talk to reporters, and I'll be honest with you, yeah, do I know that they lean to the left? Yes. But are they as fair as anyone? Yeah, they are. They are. Do I believe everything they write? No. That's why I do my own. But here's one thing, and this is a perfect example of how insane it got, because Axios did have a guy that went hard at this, and he essentially got destroyed for it. Now he's getting an award.
Then came along kind of the COVID, defund the police, word policing, where I think a lot of Americans were looking around and be like, it just doesn't sit right with me. And it doesn't, in the way it's being covered, didn't sit right with them. And then I think the final straw really was the coverage of Joe Biden, when people were saying, hey, I can see with my own two eyes that the guy seems pretty old, probably doesn't seem capable of being the president in the next term, and yet there's not a whole hell of a lot of coverage of it. Alex Thompson, our White House reporter, just won the White House Reporting Award because he was one of the few reporters to write about the decline of Joe Biden, and he got the hell kicked out.
The hell kicked out of him. Think about that. That guy wrote about it. That guy went as hard as you possibly could because the access started to shrink. And what ended up happening? He got throttled. They threw him out. You're not in the club anymore. You're not pushing hard enough for the likes of Biden so he can win and then hand it off to Kamala so that way there's no Trump. And he's like, there's a story here. Now people are going to go cheer him, and those same people were mad at him.
Exactly. Some of the very reporters who may have, who will applaud him when he wins the award in a couple of weeks. If you go back and look at their Twitter feeds, there's a lot of people dunking on him and saying, oh, that's not actually true. And we're on the other ends of the calls from the White House saying that you guys are out on a limb, you're wrong, you're crazy, blah, blah, blah. And so I think those three things in totality really cemented the distrust that a lot of people have in media. And it breaks my heart. I hate that. I love journalism. I am a fierce defender of journalism. I believe that most reporters at most institutions actually do try to get to the closest approximation of the truth and achieve it most of the time. I think it's a couple of bad apples who make it look bad for everyone.
Yeah, I don't buy that. I don't buy that part. Maybe in your organization, but I don't buy that part. I think now, and I don't think you can in many cases, and not make a living at this. I think the reality is to make a living, you have to pick a lane, and you have to serve a group of people that will keep you essentially employed. And you should be entertaining too. That helps. If you're not going to pick that lane, you better be damn entertaining. That's what we're going with. That's what we're trying. 3-2. We don't know if we're going to get there, kids, but we're trying that one. Got some of your texts coming up, a lot of other stuff. By the way, did you hear about Weezer?
Yes, this is odd.
The band?
Yes, we're going to talk about it next. Let's not spoil it, Cam. Let's not spoil it for Bell.
Okay.
I used to work with them.
I know. Well, wait till you hear this story. So don't even look, Bell. Don't even. Oh,
don't look,
If
Bell.
you look, dude, you just got to stare at me the whole time during the commercial break.
I promise.
It is Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Rough Greens, ruffgreens.com. Vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9, all this incredible stuff, power packed into an amazing supplement that I give my dogs on a daily basis. You should do the same thing. Try a Jumpstart trial bag of Rough Greens today and take the 90-day challenge. Over the next 90 days, you're going to see your dog improve 1,000-fold. Especially your dog, maybe he's a little older, right? A little long on the tooth, as I like to say. You're going to see their joints and their mobility improve. You're going to see their energy level rise. Maybe their fur isn't what it once was. You're going to see a shinier, healthier coat. It's truly amazing. It's going to help with their heart, their digestive tract, and many other things. Try a Jumpstart trial bag of Rough Greens today. It's a $20 value. You're going to get it for free. All they ask you to do is cover the cost of shipping. You can get that by going to ruffgreens.com. Use my code Chad. Ruffgreens.com. Use code Chad.
Horrible ending to the search for a child in Memphis. Tennessee's a few votes away from passing a law that is sure to end up before the Supreme Court. And Congress has kick-started efforts to enact a $1.5 trillion cut in spending. All of this and more at 2 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
And Eagle Rock homeowners in custody tonight following a wild incident that started Tuesday in this Eagle Rock neighborhood. Jillian Schreiner, an author and wife of Weezer bass player Scott Schreiner, has been booked for attempted murder. Police say she grabbed a handgun and was told to drop her weapon multiple times, but she refused, then pointing the gun at officers, which is when they say they opened fire.
You don't expect gunfire that close to your house.
That's how one neighbor, who didn't want to share her name or be on camera, describes the aftermath of the chaotic scene. This video, taken through a kitchen window, captures when gunfire was heard and officers were seen running during the wild chain of events that started just after 3 p.m. Tuesday.
So what I'm getting, Ken, back me, because I've heard all kinds of things.
Interesting.
She was at home.
Yes.
There was a car wreck on the freeway. 3 suspects headed into the neighborhood. One of them was in the backyard, who took off all of his clothes, stood there in his boxers, and started watering the plants as if the police were going to be like, oh, that's totally normal.
Yeah.
The other 2 got away, but how did she get involved? They broke into the house? Did she think that, because she pointed the gun at him, they shot her?
Yeah, it says cops were following one of the perps into a backyard when they came face to face with Jillian, who was armed with a 9mm on the porch of her home. And then they say they ordered her to drop the gun numerous times, but she refused, and they claim she pointed it directly at officers.
So I'm feeling like she must have thought that she was in danger. And some people are saying that she didn't think they were cops. But she wasn't involved in it. She didn't know any of the people. It's such a weird...
Yeah, it's very odd. We got to find out, why did she come outside with her gun?
Because
like, what was she doing out there with her 9mm?
She was ready to throw down, right?
She apparently
I'm just
was.
glad to know the Weezer guys are Pro 2A.
I was going to say.
Well, get this. The New York Post, apparently, this is an exclusive from the New York Post. Weezer bassist Scott Schreiner broke his silence after his wife was shot by cops and slapped with an attempted murder charge, bizarrely using the opportunity to promote the band's upcoming Coachella show this weekend.
Oh, wow. Hey, hon, sorry you got shot. Have fun in jail. We got to go to Coachella.
Yeah, apparently he says, she's all right. Thank you for asking. See you at Coachella.
So weird. Because when I was watching the news in L.A. about it, because I'm like, okay, cool. ABC's reported, and it does look like the 3 suspects had nothing to do with her. They came into the neighborhood. I don't know if she thought that they were going to break into her house. Or maybe they tried to. And she picked up her gun, came outside. The cops were there. She pointed the gun. They shot at her because they didn't know who she was.
Yeah. Sounds like she might have been worried about something.
So she will be fine, except for the attempted murder part. That's probably not a good thing.
She's lucky she's alive.
Yeah, she is. She's absolutely lucky she's alive.
She could have ended up just like Buddy Holly.
That's a song for you guys don't understand about Weezer. If you're missing the show, shame on you. Grab the podcast. Bell's awful. Chad Benson Show.
Two o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We are tracking the potential for severe weather this afternoon and tonight. Give you all the details during the full forecast in 5 minutes. Right now in Tennessee, authorities in Memphis say the search for a little autistic boy ended in tragedy. 5-year-old Caden Nolan found dead in a pond. Authorities say he had been under the care of his aunt, who fell asleep while she was watching him. The undocumented students bill has passed the full state Senate, now only has to get through the House before Governor Lee can sign it into law. The bill says state school districts can refuse to enroll illegal immigrant children. Channel 4's Steve Mailing was there when the vote was taken.
Now, supporters of this bill say that it's costly to educate undocumented immigrants within the state of Tennessee. And some of the Republican lawmakers who spoke out during the discussion of this bill before it was voted on said they wanted an actual study done to show how much money it's actually costing the state yearly before they voted on the bill. Obviously, the bill is now passed 19-13, as I mentioned. It'll next be taken up in the House on Monday morning.
Over in our nation's capital, the House has passed the Senate's framework for the Trump-backed budget that proposes to cut federal spending by $1.5 trillion. Here's Speaker Mike Johnson afterward.
We will now get the committees operating on all cylinders. They'll be working over the 2-week district work period that encompasses Passover and Easter. They'll take a couple of days off for those holy celebrations and then keep their sleeves rolled up and get right back to work.
Yeah, the vote was slim, 216 to 214, with 2 Republicans voting no. Kentucky's Thomas Massey and Indiana's Victoria Spartz. The House passed a bill requiring proof of citizenship to vote in federal elections. Legislation would amend the National Voter Registration Act, requiring states to obtain proof of citizenship in person from people who are registering to vote. 4 Democrats joined Republicans in supporting the measure, which the Senate will need to pass before it heads to President Trump's desk for his signature.
This is a special report from ABC News. I'm Michelle Franzen. At a cabinet meeting today, President Trump brushing off concerns over the remaining tariffs on markets, along with uncertainty of the 90-day pause on reciprocal tariffs and steep levies on Chinese goods. Instead, the president says his administration is focused on making deals with dozens of countries, though he admits it will take time and says there will be transition costs.
Well, I think it's very close, but, we have to have a deal that we like. We don't want a deal that's going to be a bad deal, or I could make every deal in one day if I wanted to. I could do this in one day. I could just say, here's what we'll do.
ABC's Karen Travers says so far there are few details on those trade talks.
They're not giving details of what exactly they're discussing with these countries, what they're looking to see as concessions to get these deals across the finish line. 75 countries, they say, have reached out to try and strike some sort of trade deal.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
My Pillow got all kinds of great savings going on for you right now. While supplies last, I want to say that when it comes to bed sheets, amazing. Springtime bed sheets. First, Giza Dream Sheets. 100% Giza cotton. Ultra soft, breathable sheets. Luxurious sateen. It's like you're sleeping on $1 million. It's so incredible. You're going to love these. Silky feel. 10-year warranty, 6-day money-back guarantee. Now, normally you're spending about $140 on these. Right now, $69.99 for Queen. King, $79.99. Now, if you're like me, you sleep hot. I love Giza. I've got those. But this time of year starts to get a little bit warmer. Percal bed sheets. Crisp, cool, perfect for people like me. Hot sleepers, 100% long staple cotton. 10-year warranty. 60-day money-back guarantee. All while supplies last. Grab yours now. $29.98 king size. So amazing. These things are awesome too. And you know the other thing about MyPillow is when you wash them, they don't shrink to the point where you can't get them back on the bed again, which drives me crazy. Save big right now while supplies last on these amazing sheets. Go to MyPillow.com/Benson. That's MyPillow.com/Benson to save big on these sheet sale. Oh, yeah. MyPillow.com/Benson. Apparently, we've got an issue at an airport.
Yep.
Reagan. We've got American Airlines jet bumps wings on the ground. The hell's going on?
And unfortunately for them, they had several members of Congress on board. One of those planes.
Uh-oh. Oh, no.
Yeah.
You know what this
means?
And
it's going to be a bipartisan outrage.
If there are both folks on there, right? Republican and Democrat, you watch what happens. These people are going to lose their mind.
We need another hearing.
We need 4 hearings. You want to know what's something weird? I was thinking about this yesterday, and I can't stand Adam Dipschiff. You guys know that? He's awful. I am curious, though, because he's like, we need to see if there's anybody inside the administration that made a bunch of money yesterday. And I thought to myself, I have no problem with that.
Yeah,
I mean,
if there's nothing to hide.
Yeah.
Although I don't know if
or anybody.
Yeah.
By I don't care right or left.
Yeah, that should be a multiple individual investigation.
How long have...
Not a political one, though.
Like AOC, this is the one thing I agree with. She's been pushing for this, along with several other people in Congress, that these people trade stocks. I mean, you go in there and you're worth, you're usually semi-successful. Very rarely it's like, this is Stu, right? Stu's running for Congress. What's up, bro? I'm Stu. And they've got nothing and they're losers. Well, although there's more of those lately. Was that George Santos?
Yeah.
Stuff like that, who are a hot mess. But they usually go in, well, they're semi-successful. Well, they got a little something going for them. And they come out and they're worth tens of millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars in some cases. And their record is better than that of Warren Buffett. And you can't monitor it all. But I would have zero problem looking into, I saw Wall Street, right? Remember Wall Street? Was it Blue Steel or whatever it was, the plane? That's what he found out about the insider trading, because that's really what it is. These Congress people insider trade. They find out something's going to go on, and then they go and they trade it.
Elizabeth Warren actually has a bill she's trying to introduce that would ban individual stock trading.
Wasn't it her and Tom Cotton, I think, agree with this?
I think that's correct.
Yeah, Tom Cotton's been hot for this as well. I sat there and I think, okay, so what do we do? Like, how do you, because you can't tell them, well, we're going to put it in a blind trust, because you're just going to tell your brother-in-law, go make a trade. You're going to tell your father-in-law. Like, do you monitor everybody they know now? Is there like a 6 degrees of separation? So if you get into Congress, should the closest people to you have to put their stuff in a blind trust so you can't tell them what to do? That'd be interesting. But I would have no problem with that. Zero problem with that. By the way, apparently the whole thing with movies and Trump is spectacular.
I think I've heard of worse things.
That was them laughing about, hey, they heard China's not going to take any more of our movies. Maybe they should take some of them. As a punishment to you, you guys have to watch that stupid Snow White movie. You guys have to do, we don't want to do that. We'll give you guys anything you want. Nope. You guys got to watch Snow White and anything else that Disney puts out that's useless. Oh, my Lord.
I think it's very close, but, we have to have a deal that we like. We don't want a deal that's going to be a bad deal, or I could make every deal in one day if I wanted to. I could do this all in one day. I could just say, here's what we'll do.
All in one day. It'd be the greatest day ever. They call it the great day, the great awakening of days. Yeah, several of you have texted in. My buddy just said, Blue Horseshoe loves Endicott steel. That was right. Insider trading, Wall Street. I mean, it's... we should... I just... There's so much money in politics, and it frustrates the hell out of me. This is not what our founding fathers were hoping for. Professional politicians was not something they were hoping for, and people going trading stocks and making gobs of cash. That was, I don't think they thought, I hope these people do that. I hope they take advantage of their opportunities. Inflation. That's a win today for the president. Inflation. And if you guys haven't heard, it's cooling, which is an absolute win. We need some of that, coupled with the fact that these are going to be some serious issues that we're going to have going on in the coming weeks and months, as long as this thing continues to go on. And what's the political fortitude of the White House, of the people? The thing about inflation, it's down, but we didn't have the tariffs in. That battle wasn't going on. What does that look like? If all of a sudden next month inflation jumps to 4%, which may happen, it may not happen. You don't know, because we don't know how long these things are going to go on. Hell, by the time Matt comes in here, he could have taken all the tariffs off and put them back on. We don't know.
Consumer prices increased by 2.4% in March compared to a year ago. That's a cool down. Economists projected a 2.6% increase, but this data was collected before President Trump's tariff escalation. Economists say tariffs could leave inflation high. The 2.4% reading is still above the Federal Reserve's 2% target.
Could. Everything's a could. It could lead us to higher inflation.
Possible.
Possible. It's how you CYA yourself. It could lead to something greater. It might not lead to something greater. We'll find out, because you may pull back on your spending, so that need won't be there. Inflation may not rise, but then profits would go down and people would freak out. You may still spend, and they're like, consumer thing's good, but inflation's gone up. Everything's possible. What's the weather like, and when's this thing hitting, Ken? I'm curious.
All right, Brother Chad, I didn't think you'd ever ask. Let's see here. Looks like the window for opportunity, if you will, is going to start at 3. And it's going to run until 10 o'clock tonight. We're going to have a chance for damaging winds up to 60 miles per hour. Hail greater than an inch. Very low risk for tornadoes, but still can't be ruled out. Pretty much everyone in Tennessee, in Middle Tennessee, is under a level 1 out of 5 risk. But it looks like everybody west of 65, and then most everybody south of I-40 is under a level 2 out of 5 risk.
So we're gonna be getting some weather here. Everybody's gonna be getting something.
Yeah, looks like there's gonna be some rain. It could be spotty, but some of the showers could involve some thunderstorms, which of course could show rotation. And boom, there you get your tornado warning.
We don't want that.
We don't want it.
So when do we think we're gonna get hit? And do you think we're all gonna have to be here, Ken? Is this the night where all of us are here, Ken?
Yeah, I don't think so. But you just never know.
It's kind of odd, though, that they make a point of saying it's a low risk on tornadoes. I guess that's just because we've had so many recently.
Yeah.
That
well, I mean, last week, whenever you guys weren't sleeping because of the weather, I mean, there was kind of it was at least a 50-50 chance of tornadoes. And then we did have some. This one today is very, very low. Very low chance for tornadoes, but you can't rule it out.
No. And usually, you know what the scary part is? It's when you say it's a small risk, is when something usually...
Right. Don't jinx it.
Right.
I don't want to have to come back in tonight.
And as far as exactly when Middle Tennessee is going to be in the crosshairs, I'm not sure. I just know it's going to start at 3 in far west Middle Tennessee and then be out of here. Talking about East Tennessee by 10 o'clock tonight. So I would say probably here in the Nashville area, we're looking around dinner time.
Okay. I just want to make sure I can get my walk in before I get home. I know.
I thought you got your walk in going home.
Well, I do, but I want to make sure I get that in, and I like to get my heart rate up a little bit.
Yes, sir.
That's a very important thing, Belle, taking care of ourselves. I mean, you're eating right. You have your salads in there every day. You eat your oatmeal.
Yeah.
Some of it's because, you're trying to look good. You have no head, so you got to make sure that your body's
Yeah,
yoked.
the rest of it's got to be okay.
So we'll be here all night, just in case something happens.
Just in case.
Just in case. We will be here. If something goes sideways, Ken's on it. Matt will be here. Chris, if need be. Dan, probably not, because he'll send us a text going, guys, be aware this might go on tonight. Be ready. And then 2 minutes later, he'll send us a text go, I'm going to go to bed. You guys can handle it. I'll be there at midnight. So be prepared, just in case. And it sounds like the roadways are probably going to be a little nar-nar.
Yeah, you get rain like that. If we get some of that heavy rain like we had last week, everybody will be slowing down, hopefully. Anyway, you got to look out for the ponding on the interstates. So, we'll have you covered.
All right, cool. See, we got you going on, kids. We got you going on. You were talking earlier about that poor kid in Memphis that died.
Yes,
and it looks like was more autism, got himself in a position that he probably shouldn't have been in.
Yeah.
Maybe down by the pond and whatnot, more than it was nefarious. But earlier today, Robert Kennedy Jr. talking about autism and thinks that we're going to know soon.
And we're trying to refocus the press. We've had 3 measles deaths in this country over 20 years. And we're trying to refocus the press to get them to pay attention to the chronic disease epidemic as you've asked us to. We have now 38% of American youth are pre-diabetic. This was unknown 30 years ago. Every child that becomes diabetic, there should be a headline about them. We have 100 million adults who are pre-diabetic or diabetic. And we have, we have now the autism rates have gone from now most recent numbers we think are going to be about 1 in 31, 1 in 20. So they're going up again from 1 in 10,000 when I was a kid.
Can I just say that is a crazy number? 1 in 31 from 1 in 10,000? That is, you think about like that kind of jump, why that's not the headline story everywhere, that 1 in 31 kids is on the spectrum in some way, shape, or form, as opposed to when he was younger, 1 in 10,000. And when I was younger, like Ken and I were talking about earlier, I don't even remember a kid having autism. Do you even remember that, Belle? A kid having autism?
I don't directly, but sometimes I sit back and I think and I try to remember if there are any of the kids that, and I don't say this to be provocative, but when you're a teenager, you think a certain way, and it was like, oh, that kid's kind of weird.
Yeah, the weird, like because they were quiet, or they were, like all Johnny talks about is trains.
And I wonder if any of those kids were actually had autism versus us just thinking they were odd.
Yeah, well, that's probably true, but the other thing he talked about is how pre-diabetic and how kids are fat. And he goes, we need to print a headline story for every kid. No, we don't. You don't need to embarrass them. That's not going to help. Could you imagine that? Young man, do you know that there is a article about you today being a fatty? When I was a kid, man, I tell you, I was thinking back by it. I don't remember but a few kids that were overweight when I was in school. Very few.
Yeah. Now I think about it, that's right.
I mean, I could probably count on one hand in my elementary school and junior high kids that were big. And I mean, I remember a few, and 2 of them were Samoan, and they were huge. But their brothers were built like houses, but I can't remember any big kids.
Well, Brian texted in and said, there was hardly anybody with peanut allergies when you were a kid either. You never heard of a kid going, oh, I can't eat peanut, but
And if you had an allergy, the whole school still ate peanut butter. You just sat in a corner with the teachers, and then we all went out and played. That's it. Yeah, but the allergies have also gotten crazy. Like everybody's allergic to something. Coming up, a lot of stuff still. We got some tariff news, a bunch of other things that we're doing here. If you think you're going to leave, don't do it. because you'll miss out on the story. What's the story? You have to find out. Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Birch Gold, tariff wars, recession fears, stubborn inflation, markets, as we know, volatile. Gold is a place that you want to think about for a safe haven. Maybe you've already got some gold. Maybe you tried it in the past. The opportunity right now is here to not only see continued movement with gold, but also as that safety net. Hedge against inflation, economic instability that's going on there, gold, right? Trusted by everybody forever. Gold's always been there. It's not going anywhere. And Birch is amazing. AAA rated by the Better Business Bureau. The economy right now is uncertain. We've got a lot of stuff going on. This is what I want you to do. Text the word Benson to 989898. Birch Gold's going to get you out an info kit. If you're thinking, hey, how do I preserve the things I have, take advantage of tax opportunity, Gold is going to give you that chance to do it. Text the word now, Benson, to 989898. To Birch Gold, get your free info kit today. That's the word Benson to the number 989898. USS Rain's coming. How's your crawl space? How's your foundation? Are you worried about those cracks and some of that stuff has gotten in there and all of a sudden you're worried about wood rot, mold? You may need more repairs, structural repairs. Don't worry. USS has you covered. USS inspectors are going to come out. They're going to take a look. Absolutely free. They're not going to sell you anything unnecessary. They're not going to put you in something. Oh, we got to do this, this, and this. It's about taking care of you. They guarantee the best. 30 years they've been around. 30,000 happy customers. They're ready to take care of you. So if you're worried about water, if you're worried about whether or not the crawl space is filling up with stuff, you got to worry about your foundation. You've got to call USS. Do it today. Call 615-488-7855, 615-488-7855, or check them out online at ussTN.com.
Sad ending to the search for a little boy in Memphis. Major advancement of that undocumented students bill over at the state capitol. And Congress kickstarting efforts to pass President Trump's domestic agenda today. That's coming up at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Republicans can run from their proposal, which is the largest Medicaid cut in American history, but we will never allow them to hide.
What exactly is the Medicaid cut? Because they're coming out going, there's no Medicaid. Oh, there's a Medicaid cut. What is the Medicaid cut? And you got to dig deeper because, see, here's the thing. When you go and you say, okay, what's the Medicaid cut? They'll say this, and then you go, well, hold on, I got to go check over here because that's how the business works in today's world is you're going to tell me a story and you're going to give me a portion of the story that you want to get across, Hakeem Jeffries. Then I'm going to go over here and Mike Johnson. I still don't think that's the real name, but still, he's going to give me a piece of the story. And he's going to say there's going to be no cuts, which they've come out. And no matter how many times they say it, the media just keeps going, well, there's going to be cuts because so-and-so said it. Okay, well, prove it. Show me exactly where the cuts are. And here's the thing. Cutting Medicaid, that might be true, but if I find out that, and I'm going to dig deeper into it because you got to make sure. I'm a measure, 2-3 times, cut once thing. You're telling me there's cuts. All right. Then I find out there's cuts, but the cuts are stuff like, hey, we used to spend $5 million, a year on gassing up the cars with this kind of gasoline that we didn't really need. Now we're only going to spend, $1 million because we're going to go back to regular gas. That's not cuts for Medicaid in the services, because that's where it matters. So when you hear Social Security, when you hear these things, is it the services that you're cutting? Because if you're cutting the services, well, that's an issue. And the Republicans know that. They understand that. They'd be in some serious trouble if they go out and blanket cut a whole bunch of stuff. But if it's about finding waste, if it's about finding stuff that you've overspent on, things you don't need, those are not the same things as service cuts. We were talking about it earlier about, I'm a guy that is about information. I want the data. I want the facts. I want to read it for myself. I want to go through these things and look at them in a way that's actually real, not I'm going to cherry pick, because that's what media has become, is cherry picking. And so Hakeem Jeffries is speaking to the Democrats out there, and hopefully some people who are a little bit, uninformed, who may be both Republicans or independents, who are hearing Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. I heard the word cuts. What's going to happen? Well, we did. We had 50,000 employees. Now we have 48,000. What did they do? They were file clerks. That's not services. If they tell you you no longer get this service, that's a cut. If they say, hey, we got rid of this, or we decided that this over here, we didn't need this office anymore, and so we're going to lease it out, or we're going to get rid of it or sell it, or what, that is not the same thing. So, as we've been talking about it here, and I try to tell you guys, I like the truth. Even if it goes against my beliefs, I want to know. And then I also want to know why if I believe, you told me this, I wanted to believe you, I went with it, then I find out that it's not real and you've lied or you gave me a portion of the story, I want to know why you only gave me a portion, because you lied to me. We don't hold our own accountable, and we need to do more of that. We're going to talk a little bit about that bill that was passed today, about undocumenteds, illegals, wandering nomads, whatever you want to call them, in the House. I think it's important to talk about. I want to see how schools are going to handle it. It's not quite done, but, they're getting there. And there's some controversy around it. Should kids who are here illegally go to school? Some of people out there, I know many of you listening, probably no. But I bet you're surprised that there's some people out there who probably think, yeah, they should. We shouldn't punish them for what their parents have done. We'll talk a bit about that. A bunch of other things straight ahead. It is Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7.
I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and we are now under a severe thunderstorm watch. Pretty much all of Middle Tennessee and southern Kentucky until 9 o'clock tonight. Right now, a severe thunderstorm watch until 9 o'clock. We'll have to keep an eye on the situation for you. Any of these storms that do go severe, there is still a very low chance for tornadoes. Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Right now in Tennessee, a sad ending to the search for a little autistic boy in Memphis. Tennessee Bureau of Investigation says 5-year-old Caden Nolan was found dead in a pond following a citywide search for him this morning. Authorities say he had gone missing while under the care of his aunt, who had fallen asleep while watching him. Over at the state capitol, major advancement of that undocumented students bill. The state Senate passing it this morning 19-13. Now it's up to the House. A hearing set for Monday morning. This bill would allow school districts to deny enrollment for any illegal immigrant children. If it passes the House, it goes to Governor Lee, who can sign it into law. And over in the nation's capital, Congress kickstarting efforts to pass President Trump's domestic agenda. House passes the Senate's framework for a budget that proposes cutting federal spending by $1.5 trillion. This was Speaker Mike Johnson afterward.
The big components of the One Big Beautiful Bill is to ensure that we don't have the largest tax increase in U.S. history all at once, which is what would happen at the end of this year if we didn't accomplish this mission.
Well, several members of Congress say they were on a plane waiting for takeoff at Reagan International Airport when another plane clipped their plane. The FAA investigating after confirming that the wingtip of American Airlines Flight 5490 struck American Airlines Flight 4522 on taxi. Republican New York Congressman Nick LaLota wrote in a post on X, no one on board was injured. One of the Democrats on the plane, Josh Gottheimer of New York, posted, just a reminder, recent cuts to the FAA weaken our skies and public safety. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
We were having a very serious conversation, Matt and I, about golf. So there, Beacon Capital Management. Ready for your retirement? Maybe you are, maybe you aren't. How about the Retirement Ready Toolkit? Let me tell you something. Being retired isn't just about will you outlive your money. That's an important part of it. You want to make sure that that money continues to work for you so Beacon can help you with it. But it's also about all the other things. And that's what makes Beacon so absolutely unique, including things like tax planning, estate planning, even health care. That's some of the things that they do that really separates them from everybody else. If you're interested in having a conversation, you can also sit down and meet them face to face. And with your Retirement Ready Toolkit, they're going to get this out to you. You're going to get a Money Enough for Life book, retirement planning checklist, and a Maximizing Your Retirement Income white paper. All of this comes at no cost, no obligation, and no pressure. Call them today at Beacon, 615-488-9303, 615-488-9303, or find them online at askbeaconnow.com. You're back. You don't want it hurt. I was talking to Chris today. As you guys know, Chris Hand got in a little fender bender yesterday. We're talking about you don't mess with your back. You don't. And that's why you need to know the Wellness Institute of Nashville has you covered. Dr. Mitchell, Dr. Ashley, ready to roll. They got the big 47 going on right now in honor of the 47th president. And it is amazing what you get for it. First of all, you can save 47%. But then when you get in there, this is about non-surgical. They're not doing any voodoo, any of this stuff. There's no creams or magic. It's about setting up a plan to get you out there, living your life, feeling healthy in a better way. And that's what Dr. Mitchell and Dr. Ashley do. They're the best around. It's about technology, and it's about that plan they build for you. Your consultation you get when you come on in there includes an exam, right? And a full consultation, as well as if you got your MRI, bring it. They'll take a look at it, and away you go. They want to get you feeling better, and they will. They are the best around, period. So if you worry about your back, take advantage of the big 47 right now going on. Non-surgical spinal decompression. They're going to help you out over there at the Wellness Institute of Nashville. Call them today, 615-246-5009, 615-246-5009, or go to painisbad.com. Got some of your text messages. Somebody asked, what's the best non-biased news websites to stay informed? You know what? Everything's going to have a little bias, but I always tell everybody, people ask me where I go. I look at Axios, and I'll look at the New York Times, I'll look at the New York Post. But when I want to get some of the other stuff, and it's good debates or listen to certain things that I love to go to is Breaking Points, which is, you can check them on a YouTube. Soccer and Crystal, she's uber left. He is conservative and uber right. Their show is entertaining. Your kid would love it because they point out things, and you'd be surprised how many things they agree upon and disagree upon, which is interesting. And they're not afraid to call out each other's side and their side as well. But it's hard to find biased places to look at news, just in this day and age, because it's about serving. Got to serve the public, and the public is whoever your customer is. And so, I always tell everybody, I'm here for the exhaustive majority. That is us, right? 70, 80% of us are the exhaustive majority. We don't live in the world of extremes. We're a little bit right. We're a little bit left. We're not insane. We don't live in a world of emotion. And we're just tired of the BS.
Well, it's like you said, man. I mean, you've just got... You can't say that there is a completely unbiased media source out there.
No.
I don't know if they exist anymore. What you've got to do, you have got to do your own research. It's just like what you just explained after that cut from Hakeem Jeffries. The media is going to run that cut all day long. That this is the biggest Medicare cut ever, Medicaid cut ever.
Yeah.
Well, you've got to break that down. What kind of cut?
Yeah. Well, and I have a question. Is it an actual cut, or is it just their shenanigans of where they call a smaller increase a cut?
Well, you got to go through the whole thing because I don't know. Right? Because that might be a portion of it. Portion of it might be, something that is basically administrative. But they're calling it the biggest ever. And technically it might be a big quote-unquote cut. But is it a service cut?
Bingo. And the Republicans, and I've got it. Well, I've got this from Speaker Mike Johnson right now on that.
Okay.
Let's get to it. All right. Here's what he said today. After the House passed that Senate framework, start working on the Trump-backed budget.
The Democrats, as I noted this morning, have said that we're going to gut Medicaid. It is not true. We're going to protect the benefits that everyone is legally entitled to. The beneficiaries who have a legal right to that, it will be preserved. Those are essential safety net programs that Republicans support. The president has made clear Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid will not take a hit. So you can count on that, and you can watch it develop as we go.
And it doesn't matter because people are going to run with it and say, no, they're cutting it.
Absolutely.
And it's like when I went out to that protest, and I've been out to a couple other things, everybody says the same thing. They're cutting Social Security. Where are they cutting Social Security? Well, that's what I heard. Well, they haven't, and you haven't lost anything. And all the things that you're still getting all the stuff, and it's not going anywhere. But in their mind, they've been told it's happening. And it is... You can't, some people are so hell-bent on this is what I've heard, so I have to believe it. And I know there's a couple studies out there, and it's very bizarre that the first thing that you hear that gets stuck in your head, you tend to believe, and you tend not to get rid of that, which is so bizarre. I'm like, even when like I said, like we can go today and present facts and data to people that this is not what's happening. The cuts are going to be things that have nothing to do with services. And people will still say, no, they're going to cut services. I just know it. And it's frustrating because all I want is just give me the truth. I'm an adult. Let me make up my own mind, which we don't. We don't do. Frustrating. Earlier today, stuff going on right here in the Capitol.
The people of all ages who came out today to hold up signs and make their voices heard, both in the rotunda and in the Senate gallery. Some of those signs read, "Let us learn," and "Education for all." Those against the bill say children should not be stripped of an opportunity because of their parents' actions. They say Tennessee would be setting limits on children and ultimately harming futures. Those who support the measure say the decision should be left to local agencies, not the federal government. They say there is a price to pay for a Tennessee education. Here's more from lawmakers, some getting emotional on the floor.
Now, if the kid's here, it's not their fault if their parents came here. And I know that there's like, well, let them go to school. They can pay for it, those kind of things. This is like everything else. This is going to end up. This I know once it gets through, and it still has to go. It still has to go through the Senate, right? Is that correct there?
Yeah. Well, it's past the Senate.
Past the Senate.
It's got to go through the House.
Got to go through the House, but it'll probably get through. And then it's just this. They might as well just ship this off right now before we get there, and just like, what do you think, Supreme Court? Because it's another one of those things that's probably going to end up there. You're going to go and try this. It's frustrating because you don't want people to come here illegally. You'd like it to be done the right way. We can talk about that ad nauseum. But the kids, I don't think we should punish kids. That's just me. I've always been that way. It's not the sins of the father. There are people that have come here illegally, yes, and their kids here, in many cases, they may only know America as their home, even though they may not be, quote unquote, Americans. And based on some of our college kids that I hear today, they're probably more American than them. But if the battles are going to continue to go on in the Supreme Court for so many of these things are settled, having an educated workforce is a good thing. And we need to figure out what to do with these children. And I know this is going to the Supreme Court at some point in time. If not us, it's going to be somewhere else that's going to try it. And this is, you hear the emotion. I want to know, okay, what's the real, cost of all of this? Because is it fair that the kid doesn't speak English? No, but we could figure some stuff out. We can. And let's say some kids don't speak English. Well, their parents got to pay for it. Well, okay, so the parents go and pay for them to go to school, but they still don't speak English. Like you didn't buy them a vocabulary or an understanding. So you just gave the school money. We've got to figure out how to do this. And it sucks because as a person who looks and understands, illegal immigration is an absolute nightmare that the last administration allowed to run wild. But you know what? All administrations, for the most part, since Reagan, haven't done anything. They didn't do a lot. They all had opportunities to try to do something, and they didn't. Because, the Democrats' dream one day is you'd have a whole bunch of people that they thought, they're going to all vote for us. It's going to be great. And the Republicans and their donors like, we need cheap labor. And everybody turned a blind eye. And this is the mess we have.
Again, I rose with a heavy heart this morning. We're foregoing an educated workforce for, again, a permanent underclass. This will exacerbate our poverty rates, increase crime and incarceration, possibly rising homelessness, and a growing unskilled, low-wage workforce who won't be able to meet the needs of a 21st century. And it will exacerbate those nonprofits who are going to shoulder that burden.
It does not prohibit homeschooling or private schooling, which are other alternative paths to an education, nor does it apply, as been stated over and over again today, to legal immigrants or students in the process of obtaining legal status. This debate, Mr. Speaker, is part of the fabric of a larger debate.
The bill is still working its way through the House and will need to pass there before it would get to Governor Bill Lee.
And we'll find out what that looks like. And many of you chiming in, why don't you pay for it? Disincentivize them. They're all illegal. Send it back to their crap holes so they can be educated there. I get it. It's frustrating. But you know what? If you really want to get rid of the illegal immigration, you're serious about it, then you crack down on all the businesses. You give them 2 strikes. The first one is you get the third strike, you're out, by the way. The first one, you get a fine or you get a warning. Second one, you get a fine. And the third one, they shut your business for good. There you go. Problem solved. But nobody will do that because the donors will throw too much money at both parties to make sure that doesn't happen. We've allowed a lot of this to happen, not just the last administration. Trump was the only one since Reagan that, and let's be real, Reagan came up with, we're going to give you amnesty, it's going to be one time, and then nobody ever did anything after that because they don't have the incentive. And now the incentive is Trump wants to do something. Well, for me, we can go after the people that are here, find out what you're going to do with them, how you're going to deport them. If that's what you're going to do and you've got the money to do it, great, go and do it. But while the kids are here, for me, it's a frustrating thing. Yeah, they could be homeschooled. That's true right there too. But punishing them for the sins of their fathers and mothers, that's where I have an issue. And I think a lot of people, some of you have an issue. Most of you just, let's kick them out. Let's kick everybody out. And that's what Trump is supposed to be doing. I don't think it's going as well as we thought because we don't have the money for it yet, which is frustrating. I mean, there's a lot of things I thought would be further along, but the battle that goes on there has to do mostly with courts. And it is a frustrating thing, and I want to see where this goes because I do think this, if passed, is going to go to the Supreme Court, and they're going to challenge it. And with this Supreme Court, you have no idea where this could go. This could be 9-0 in favor of the state. It could be 9-0 in favor of, no, you got to educate them. And depending on how that goes is how everybody will feel about the Supreme Court on that day. If you get what you like, it's a win. It's a win. Coming up, so Matt came in here, it's like the bell ruined it. We were having a great conversation about the Masters, and he was telling me how it's the most snooty place he's ever been, which I think is hilarious because I didn't know he grew up outside of Augusta, and he's like, it's the most snooty place I'd ever been. That's why you have to respect it. Okay. Weather coming in today, what do we expect, about 3:30, 4 o'clock? Right around here, Ken?
Yeah, the window of opportunity going to be between 3 and 10 tonight. Now, we have that severe thunderstorm watch that runs until 9, which indicates 9 o'clock being probably, it'll be in the eastern part of Middle Tennessee before 9 o'clock. So Middle Tennessee or middle Tennessee, we're looking in about 2 to 3 hours, if not before, getting some of that if storms actually develop.
So now it's not for sure.
I mean, there likely will be storms, but will they go severe?
Oh, okay. Will they go to
severe limits?
Code red, blue, 8-9er.
Yeah, we're talking about 60-mile-per-hour winds.
Oh, that's no fun. That's not fun to play pickleball in. I'll tell you that right now.
No, sir.
Coming up, we're going to wrap it up. We got our good friend and yours, Matt Murphy. He came in here, and we were having a great conversation. Bell ruined our conversation, so we're going to try to pick it up from there. It is Chad Benson Show, Super Talk 99.7. Oberg?
Oberg.
How do you? I don't think he knows how to say his name.
I think it's Oberg. It's Oberg. I think
it's Oberg.
I'm pretty sure it's Oberg.
Yeah, he's my silent pick at the Masters.
If you don't like golf, you might want to turn the radio off for the next.
Oh,
5
don't worry. I
minutes.
already got yelled at earlier.
Did you?
Yeah, and you know
You're
what?
not a sports station. Yeah, you're not sport. You should be talking about tariffs all day.
I guarantee you, they're not talking about golf on the sports station. So there you go.
No. So we are. Yeah,
That's
because
right.
we're snooty. You said it was the snootiest place you'd ever been.
It's so snooty. It is so impressively snooty. They've created a dynamic. Things come together in such a way where they don't have to care what you think about what they do. They just do it the way that they think they should do it. I mean, you mentioned the no cell phones.
Yeah.
There's no running.
No.
They do not allow running on the golf course.
No hats on backwards.
Right. So if you run, one of my favorite stories about, and I grew up in Augusta, so I've got a billion of these stories. And we grew up poor, so this golf thing was a rich guy's thing until I got to be a teenager and started playing a little bit. And I got to go to a couple of tournaments. One of my favorite stories about the Augusta National, Clifford Roberts was the chairman of Augusta Nationals for years and years and years. Bobby Jones didn't want to be chair, and so his good friend Clifford Roberts was chair until he shot himself on the par 3 course in, I think, 1979. He had a brain tumor, and he went out. So it's like early 1960s, there was a quote-unquote disturbance on the course. And so he gets in his little golf cart, and he goes out there, and it's Jackie Gleason. And Jackie Gleason is off on the side somewhere, just kind of holding court and laughing and cutting up and having a good time. And they're just causing a little ruckus. And Clifford Roberts gets out of his little golf cart, and he walks over and he just starts unclipping badges.
Yeah.
And Jackie stops and realizes what's going on and walks over and says, and I don't think you understand, I'm Jackie Gleason. And Clifford Roberts said, I don't think you understand, Mr. Gleason. These gentlemen will show you the way out. Got back in his car and left.
It's just, it's a different place, because I was saying, going to the waste management is an event.
It's a party, baby. I want to go.
They start lining up at 4 or 5 in the morning. Everybody sprints because you want to get to that 16th hole, which is the par 3 in that
stadium.
The stadium, and the music's playing. It is like nothing you've ever seen. It is chaos. And over the weekend, over the 4 days, they'll get about 800,000 people over the week, but over those 4 days, that Friday, Saturday, it's a couple 100,000 people a day.
Oh, yeah.
It is chaos.
Isn't it one of the few golf tournaments that they have less attendance on Sunday because of the Super Bowl?
Super Bowl, yeah. And that attendance will beat pretty much every attendance in golf, but the day before it's 200,000 people. It's chaos. People dressed like bananas. You're going to see at least one streaker.
Oh, sure, yeah.
It's like Mardi Gras in certain areas. So if you go at a certain time, you're going to see some bosoms.
I knew a kid when I was a teenager that, imagine being this kid. So if you get Masters badges, if you are lucky enough to get them, you keep them for your life.
Yeah.
You can re-up them until you die. You can no longer will them. And in Augusta, the agreement between Augusta National and the city was that they promised to keep about 25% of them local, and they have, completely obliterated that promise over the last 25 years. They just, because they're farming them out to corporations or whatever. But so it's a big deal to have badges, a big deal to be local and have badges. And one of the local kids got caught making out with his girlfriend in the woods. Oh, just family. 4 badges gone forever. Imagine being that kid on Thanksgiving.
Oh.
He's like 16 years old. Your badges are gone forever.
Ever. Yeah. Like you're out of the will.
Yeah, you don't come back from that.
No, there's no coming back from that. There is zero coming back from that.
But my favorite, talking about snootiness, my favorite story about Augusta National is this. So Clifford Roberts would drive around to the concession tents that don't have any signage on them. They're just green concession tents, and they're very, very cheap.
$1.50 for a pimento cheese sandwich.
They're not there to gouge anybody. They're there to. They gouge you in the pro shop. Trust me. The $100 shirts, but they're not there to do that for the concessions. So and the badges are, I think, like $150 for the week.
Yeah.
It's insanely low. But he would go and he would have a little notepad, and he would go to the registers at the concessions, and he would open up the registers, and all the people knew that he would do this. And he would take money out of the register and then write a little note and put the note in the register. And one of his friends asked him one time, Clifford, what are you doing? And he said, Augusta National will not return soiled currency to our patrons. He was literally going going in and getting the dirty money, like the crumpled bills, because he did not want Augusta National to return change.
That is crazy.
That is a level of snootiness.
Yes.
That I can't fathom, and you have to respect it. And there's not a blade of grass out of place. Not a blade of grass out of place.
No,
They
it's like
rake
a
the
movie
woods.
studio that's a golf course.
Yeah, they rake the woods.
Yeah, it's insane. Insane indeed. Speaking
Yeah,
of
well.
insanity.
We won't talk about that today at all.
No. Straight up,
promise.
4 hours of nothing but hardcore tariff talk. Get ready for it.
Let's go. Trade deficits.
Three o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We are tracking the potential for severe weather in Middle Tennessee tonight. I can tell you that all of Middle Tennessee is under a severe thunderstorm watch until 9 o'clock. Now, that's going to go for those southern counties, those counties in southern Kentucky, too. It's a severe thunderstorm watch. Now, if there are storms that come up, there is a very low chance for tornadoes, but we can't rule it out. We'll be here to tell you about it. Got the full forecast and traffic in 5 minutes. Right now, we're monitoring reports of a helicopter crashing into the Hudson River in New York City. Looking at images there of the scene, there are multiple law enforcement boats in the water. It's unknown if they're actually recovering anyone or the wreckage, but there is a big scene there in the Hudson River after that reported helicopter crash. It's been another mishap involving passengers